Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your...
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. You know, how I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays live on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off the Sports Web, bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. 40 years of sports broadcasting experience. I know he hates when I do it, but I got to do it. WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28, breaking down, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving his list of top 10 quarterbacks all time in Tampa Bay Buccaneer history. And then we will have Joshua Cole Allen and, of course, Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49, about 10:15. And then, of course, your phone calls. As always, we love the interaction on here. Webheads, get on the text line. Or if you want to dial that phone line up, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Yes, the guest can hear you, and you'll be able to hear the guest. It's amazing how technology works. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get him on. The Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing tonight?
Peter, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. And you have a list, but before we get to that, there was kind of some controversial comments last week from Diana Rossini of ESPN. She says that she talked to a couple defensive coordinators, and Dennis Allen of the Saints, and of course Raheem Morse of the Atlanta Falcons, and basically it was put out there that Gronkowski is not a number one priority anymore, that teams are not really worried about him. They're really not worried about Brady. And then Dominique Foxworth, on Get Up this morning, the former defensive back. No, I don't think they should fear the Brady Gronkowski tandem. I think whomever Diana was talking to was probably right. And it's not to say this tandem hasn't been great over history. I think most people would agree Rob Gronkowski is the best tight end in the history of football, but he was kind of falling apart. His body was breaking down at the end of his career, and then he took a year off. I understand that some people could frame that year off as a year to rest and recover, but it's also a year away from the game. It's hard to just drop back into the game, particularly in this unique offseason when you aren't getting the same preparation that you normally would have. And I think that this offense is not going to be built to it's not going to be built around Rob Gronkowski the way the Patriots offense utilized his ability to block and run routes and get open. The Bucs have other playmakers. They have two others in Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think those guys are people you should fear before Gronkowski. And then you get O.J. Howard, who hasn't really quite lived up to those draft status expectations. But with the quarterback like Tom Brady, it's definitely possible for O.J. Howard at tight end. He could even be more impressive, a better pass-catching option than Rob Gronkowski. So it's not to say Rob Gronkowski is going to be bad. I just think it would be wishful thinking to expect him to be above average to that point. I think he will be slightly above average at this juncture. That's what he was saying. So my thoughts to you, what do you think of these comments? Once again, talking heads talking about the Bucs and how Gronkowski is kind of washed up. But remember, he's 31 years old, and I get it, Tom Brady is 43 in August. But I just feel like this is more fuel to that fire for these players.
Well, thank God we have football minds like Diana Rossini and Dominic Fox, whatever. I mean, my God, he's such a memorable name in the history of, in the annals of pro football. Thank God we've got him breaking things down for us for this upcoming season, because I really don't know what we do. I mean, so what did he say? He said that, Rob Gronkowski, Gronk, may be nothing more than an above average tight end. Okay. In this offense with Tom Brady, an above average tight end can be pretty effective. And, Jameis Winston threw for 5,100 yards in this offense with those weapons. What is the greatest quarterback of all time going to do? That doesn't mean the only way that Tom Brady's effective is if he throws for 510 yards and doesn't throw all those interceptions and still has maybe 34 touchdowns. Bottom line, the Bucs offense is probably the best it has ever been. And one of the reasons why I wanted to write that article about the 10 best quarterbacks in Buccaneer history was just to remind everybody it's pretty hard to come up with 10 names, because there's never, ever been one name that has stood out above everyone else that you could say is clearly the quarterback that has been the face of this franchise and has led this team to numerous division titles and maybe a Super Bowl and this and that. It just hasn't happened. And the Bucs have had an awful lot of years with just not even Dominic above average quarterback play. So ignore those guys. To those 3 or 4 defensive coordinators in the NFL that talked to Diana Rossini, ignore them. I mean, don't cover, don't double. I mean, single cover Rob Gronkowski. You might have to because of everything else, all the other weapons the Buccaneers have. And, at the beginning of the season, that might be really the best call of all is put Gronk with single coverage and then do what you can, putting multiple people on, the Bucs' other weapons. So, this is a clear case of it's June, 15th, 16th?
Yes.
And the season starts September 13th. And today news that several members of the Cowboys and Texans have tested positive for the COVID-19 virus, and that includes Ezekiel Elliott. So everything is up in the air right now. And while the NFL, I believe the NFL has done this better than any other sports league into having control of this as much as you can and having realistic expectations and having at least charted a course on which way you want to go. Today just really shows everybody that no matter how much you think you're in control, nobody really is. And as much as we'd like to see football start the first part of September, we don't really know. The NFL doesn't really know. The NFL probably knows better than any other sports league. But it's going to be, it's just going to be nervous times until we see. Now, I think the NFL has something that just about all these other sports leagues don't have, and that's time. And if you have to delay it a month and push everything back, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that says you can't play the Super Bowl in April. So the National Football League is going to play this season, and the National Football League is going to do whatever it can to make this thing work for the National Football League. And there may not be people in the stands, but there will be higher ratings for National Football League games than any time. In fact, probably higher ratings for any sports broadcast on a regular basis than we've ever seen. And the NFL will make that happen. And we'll see. And, the fun part is the Buccaneers will be relevant, and all these so-called great defensive coordinators cover the Bucs any way you want. I still like Tom Brady.
Yeah, I still like the impact of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. This is from yardbarker.com. They actually say no team had a better offseason. Tom Brady makes Tampa Bay the center of the NFL universe, and he managed to draw Rob Gronkowski out of retirement to join him. The Buccaneers crushed it in the draft, too. 13th overall pick in Tristan Wirfs should be an instant starter at either offensive tackle spot, which is interesting in itself because a lot of people say it's right tackle. I think it's right tackle, but they're throwing it out there, maybe possibly left tackle. Second round safety Antoine Winfield Jr. is a natural ball hawk, and his Minnesota teammate Tyler Johnson was a great value at wide receiver in the 5th round. Third round running back Keyshawn Vaughn also has plenty of pundits excited. Tampa Bay went from an also-ran to an NFC South favorite in no time. In fact, they were one of the highest ranked team on this list, and they did a rundown. This is from yardbarker.com. Of the 32 teams, the Bucs received an A+. The teams that received an F were the Houston Texans and the Green Bay Packers. Also, it's interesting to note the Cleveland Browns received an A+ too. So both of those teams, does it mean anything to win the offseason? Most likely not, but from right now, it looks like the Bucs and the Browns, in their opinion, have done the most. And I think I kind of follow that instead of, well, the Bucs got a declining quarterback and they also got a tight end that's not going to be very effective. I definitely think, once again, Bruce Arians and this coaching staff has a plan. And speaking of that coaching staff, Al, they returned to facilities today. It's been talked about that they could return July 21st. That's still up in the air, but it's nice to see coaches, even in their masks, doing the right thing, social distancing, but in that building, getting ready to get back to some normalcy in Buccaneer land.
Well, you just want to see this team start to get ready for the upcoming season because you want this season to come off. However, whatever that looks like and however that ends up, whether there are fans, whether or not, if it starts on time, if it doesn't, you just want to make sure that you can get, Tom Brady out there as the Bucs starting quarterback, because the Bucs have never had a quarterback anywhere near approaching a Tom Brady. And, I go back to, and let's be quite honest, winning the offseason is not the biggest thing in the world, nor is it a title that the Bucs should be proud of having. I remember that Philadelphia Eagles team under Andy Reid that had made some incredible moves in the offseason to put together a team that a lot of people thought were going to be the team to beat, and they didn't have anywhere near the type of season that they could have or should have had. So, but even if that happens here, it'll still be the most talked about thing in the National Football League. And how often Tampa Bay Buccaneers been the most talked about thing in the National Football League? Maybe 1 year, and that's it.
That's it. Also, there was a tease today on Buccaneers.com on Buccaneer Twitter that you may see Tom Brady in that new Buccaneer uniform. A lot of people have been kind of talking about it. They haven't seen it because of everything going on off the field with COVID-19. I want to know from your fans, if you want to call in, how much are you looking forward to seeing that picture? I know it's just a picture, but seeing Tom Brady in that Tampa Bay Buccaneer uniform. Phone line is open tonight. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Al, that's my home number. That's my personal number. So hopefully they don't abuse it tonight. No pizza orders. And please, no neighbors calling me, telling me that I hit on their girl. Okay. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, you had a very interesting.
Did you hit on their girl?
No, not at all.
Was it a girl worth hitting on?
It was not.
Okay, then there you go.
It's a prank call. That's what it is. I'm just saying, keep the prank calls at a minimum. Let's just not have any. Let's have some great fan interaction tonight. But with that being all said, you did a great article on Bucs Report about top 10 quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and get into that a little bit. You've got the list there, right?
I do.
All right. So who is your top 10 quarterback in Bucs history and why?
Well, again, the big question was, I guess the best way of me to put it was that, the quote, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So can I come up with 10 names? Yeah, I can. Should they be on the list? Probably not. And quite honestly, I couldn't come up with 10 names. So when I started the list, start out number 10, obviously, and I said this selection is currently on hold because of the coronavirus, just like everything else in our world. So that starts off the list, and that should tell you something about how this list is going to go. So from number 10, I went to number 9, Steve DeBerg, who, truth be told, is one of my favorite Buccaneers of all time. I mean, I said all class, all guts. 2 times he took a beating as a stable pony for a young quarterback that the Bucs just didn't have the guts to start off with and put in the lineup from day one. But you look at what he was able to provide for this team from the beginning, when he came in and when he played effectively at a time when the Bucs had very little, if any, talent whatsoever around him. So I put him at number 9. Still highly respected with the Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, might make him one of their, if they put together a top 10 list of 10 best quarterbacks, he would probably be on the list of their best quarterbacks. Number 8, I put Jeff Garcia, the last man to quarterback the Bucs to a playoff game, won 14 of 24 games that he started. Had that one really good year, John Gruden, and was a very effective quarterback for the Bucs and made the Pro Bowl that year. Number 7 is Sean King. Now, a lot of people would really raise their eyebrows to that. But when you remember what the situation was at the time when he came in, and I told a story about after his junior year at Tulane, he came home, went over to One Buck Place, and was trying to line things up to be an intern or to get a front office job with the Bucs in their public relations department when he graduated from Tulane. Well, instead, after his senior year at Tulane, he ends up being a second-round pick and was thrown onto a veteran team. Imagine a rookie quarterback having to practice against Brooks and Sapp and Lynch every single day in practice.
Mm.
And he was effective. He was effective. Was he the best quarterback the Bucs could have had in that situation? No, he was not. And that's why they went out and got Brad Johnson.
Right.
But still, when you look at Bucs history, I still think at the time that he came in the situation in which he came in, that he certainly deserves some mention there. Number 6, I put Trent Dilfer, 38 and 38 as a starter. And in those early years, they were really bad. I mean, really bad. And he was basically a caretaker for this offense when Warwick Dunn and Mike Alstott were really the key guys on this offense. And I think if he could have accepted his role a little better and accepted the fact that what he was that kind of quarterback, I think he could have been even more effective. I think he could have been.
Do you think he was a draft bust? Because a lot of people, they say, was he 6th overall pick, first round player, a lot of high expectations, supposed to throw the ball deep, really was never that accurate. And like you said, the record, whether it was him or the team put around him. And that's the tough thing about getting a young quarterback. You talk about King, offense was not that great. You had some running backs, but you had a great defense. So probably more successful for Sean King, but Trent Dilfer, not really much around him, and a lot was expected of him being a first-round player. In your opinion, do you think he was a bust, or he just what he was for the Bucs?
Well, anyone that can win 38 games in the NFL, I don't think you can call him a bust.
Okay.
He also ended up, that was 38 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a time when the Buccaneers were not very good.
Right.
Except in his, last couple of years with the Buccaneers. Also, he ended up winning a Super Bowl, so I don't think in any way you could look at Trent Dilfer and say he was a bust. Now, did he end up becoming the quarterback that a lot of people thought that he would? No, he didn't. And I think if he had been drafted by a different organization and may have had some different coaching around him at that time, he may have been even better. But he ended up playing a lot of years in the NFL. Again, won a Super Bowl, was a backup towards the end, and was a damn good backup. I think you could have done a whole lot worse than having Trent Dilfer as your backup. So, during that time he was here, he was, he comes from a time when it's always been extremely difficult being the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mm-hmm. It always has. And the fact that I could only come up with 9 quarterbacks in their history to even seriously mention, shows you just how difficult it was to play quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 5, I put Vinny Testaverde. He had a 21-year career, and talk about a guy that came in with very little talent around him. This guy did, and held the Buccaneer passing records, even though he had only played, 5 seasons, I think it was, and didn't play all that well in those 5 seasons. He did not have the coaching and certainly didn't have talent around him. But to go out and play 21 years, the Jets, you talk to a Jets fan, they love Vinny Testaverde. They thought he was a very effective starting quarterback. And,
you talk to the Browns and the Ravens. When he went to the Browns with Bill Belichick, he was an effective starter before they went to Baltimore. I believe he played some years with Cleveland there, and he had them, I believe, I'm thinking, on the cusp of a playoff appearance. So he was an effective starter. You're exactly right. And some people will say, well, he's too high on this list. But even with that all being said, he still put up some big-time numbers, whether they were losing by a lot of points. He still put up big-time numbers with very little around him. So it's kind of amazing that he's on, that list with that big of numbers and just awful talent around him.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers, and again, the fact that it was his first 5 years in the league,
mm-hmm.
that, to put up those kind of numbers that he did especially with the coaching that he had around him and the lack of talent that he had around him. I mean, I saw Vinny up close and personal, and he was still incredibly talented. He just had that curse of being the number one pick and having to go to a really bad franchise. And that's what happened to him. That was his problem. Okay. But still, he ended up playing a 21-year career and had a very, he had a nice 21-year career in the National Football League. And there aren't a whole lot of quarterbacks that can say that.
Yep. Took the Jets to the AFC Championship game in 1998. So, I mean, he was effective. It just was one of those stories where once that quarterback is out of Tampa Bay, they usually get more effective and probably have more around them at that point. And we're on right now on the Evolution Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. So number 4, and I like what you said here because you said that these are the quarterbacks that Peter
from four all the way up.
Yes, that I think are going to be 10-6.
Now, I said was from this selection on, Peter Blake believes these quarterbacks could lead the Bucs to a 10-6 record today.
Today.
So Brad Johnson's number 4, obviously quarterback the Bucs in the Super Bowl, was considered to be the final piece of that playoff puzzle and ended up being that piece under John Gruden, but really developed once the season got towards the end of the regular season and the playoffs. And he was just very effective quarterbacking this offense during that time. And I think there's, little doubt that he belongs among the best quarterbacks in Buccaneer history. Number 3, when I started doing this and actually researched it and started running it, I didn't expect to have this guy to even be on my list. And when you look at the numbers that he put up in a very short amount of time and what he could have been, it really is a sad story. But number 3 is Josh Freeman, and it was what a waste. His numbers were impressive.
Yeah.
During his early years. And then, you can believe rumors or whatever, but it became very obvious that because of those rumors that there was absolutely no relationship with Greg Schiano, and that it just wasn't going to work there. And Schiano had moved on past him. But, if Freeman didn't have the demons that he had, I think there's a good chance that he still would have been the Bucs quarterback today. And he put together some really good seasons early on. And so he was my choice at number 3. Number 2, Jameis owns every Buccaneer record and did that in, basically 4 of the 5 seasons he's been here. But again, those interceptions just made it impossible for him to continue on here as long as a Tom Brady was available. And you look at those last 2 games, and those last 2 games against Houston and Atlanta, the Bucs easily could have ended the season with a 6-game winning streak. They would have been 9-7, and considering where they had been earlier in the season, and the fact that he led the NFL with 5,100 yards and, had the 33 touchdowns. But again, the 30 interceptions along with the pick sixes, which were just backbreaking, he should quite honestly be the number 1 quarterback on this list and should probably still be here and would have been signed to a long-term deal if he hadn't had those last 2 games, And, we talked about this ad nauseum. He was battling injuries. He was battling the fact that, his top 2 receivers were out and beat up and done for the season. And it would have been very easy for him just to pack it in as well. But he refused to do that. If he had, I think, and if he hadn't played those last 2 games, regardless if the Bucs would have won or lost, I think the Bucs would have signed him to a long-term deal. and he would be the quarterback today. Or at least it would have been a whole lot more difficult for them to look at Tom Brady and make that decision. I think Jameis will get another opportunity sometime, someplace, and who knows where that will be. But I don't think we've heard the last of Jameis Winston. And then number one on my list, Doug Williams. Before the Super Bowl years, Doug Williams quarterbacked the Bucs in every big game in their history. Was drafted, obviously, the first black quarterback drafted in the first round in, I think it was 78. And then within 2 seasons, had him knocking at the door of the Super Bowl. So didn't have gaudy numbers. The Bucs offense wasn't like that back then. But he was very obviously becoming the soul of this team. And it was quite obvious, the soul of the team, along with Leroy Selman anyway. But I think you could definitely say the soul of this offense. And when Hugh Culverhouse just flat out decided not to pay him, and forget market value. What he was talking in what he offered Doug Williams at that time in the way of a contract was criminal, and it affected his ownership from then on. And this franchise was never the same and never was close to being the same. But Doug Williams, to me, was the number one quarterback in Bucs history. So that's my list. It wasn't an easy thing to come up with. And if you think it's easy, go ahead and put together your own list. I think you're going to see you got some there's been a lot of meat picked off the bones here in trying to find 10 guys.
I agree. Good stuff, Al Keck. And some people would say Brad Johnson should be ranked higher because he did win the Super Bowl. But really, if you do your research, he was only here 3 years. I've talked to Johnny Dean about this, professor. He feels like Brad Johnson is the best quarterback in the history over Doug Williams. And the reason why he says Williams, will call in and you'll be able to hear him hear you. But he feels like Williams wasn't the sole catalyst. He feels like Ricky Bell, Jerry Eckwood, Jimmy Giles, guys like that, and Leroy Selman were the players in that era. And you could definitely make a case for it because Williams doesn't necessarily have the best completion numbers, but you look at some of the plays that he made. Look, his numbers are not going to stand out, but some of the plays he made for this offense. And like you said, he was one of the leaders on this team, the soul of this team. And as soon as they decided to get rid of him and go in a different direction, they were never the same after that, even with a number one pick like a Vinny Testaverde, even with the opportunity of having a Steve Young and having Chris Chandler and other quarterbacks once again that went to other places. Steve DeBerg went to other places and were successful. The Bucs could never get that same type of success. So I agree with you. I think Doug Williams definitely is number one quarterback. If you disagree or you have your own list, we'll go ahead and take a top 5. We won't go 10 unless you can name 10. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. So do you think Johnson gets enough love even for the Super Bowl win? Does he get enough love from this fan base? Do you think he should be ranked higher? If you had to go back again, would you rank him higher, or do you still like where he's ranked?
Well, obviously I put the list together, so I like where he's ranked. Right. But I mean, who do you put him above? Again, if you really look at the numbers for Josh Freeman, what he did in 3 years was really impressive. Mm-hmm. Jameis Winston, those numbers, just when you put those up on the board, are numbers you really have to look at.
Right.
And, I guess my question is, if you take Brad Johnson, put him behind the offensive line that Jameis Winston has had to be behind, for the last 5 years, what would his numbers look like? You know,
Right.
you know, I can't emphasize enough when I started to do the article and really started researching things. And again, I was here for all that stuff. And, you know, I just felt badly about the Josh Freeman thing because I thought it was such a waste.
Yeah.
And, but when you really sit back and look at it again and really look at those numbers, it's, you know, he had some good seasons here. He really did. Now he didn't have good coaching and didn't have much around him. So it makes you just wonder if Bruce Arians had gotten a hold of him at the right time, what kind of quarterback could he have been? And could he have been a better person as far as not battling the personal demons that he had to fight? So, you know, Josh Freeman put up some really good seasons. But when you look at this overall list, I think you have to stand back and think, oh my gosh, they haven't had a quarterback, you know, and the Bucs may be one of the only franchises in the history of the National Football League that have been around as long as they have that really haven't had a high quality quarterback in their history. You know, I mean, look at the Saints, you know, until Drew Brees got there, they didn't have that many Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Look at the Atlanta Falcons. Before Matt Ryan got there, they didn't have that many Pro Bowl quarterbacks. And look at the Carolina Panthers. Until Cam got there, they haven't had that many Pro Bowl quarterbacks. I mean, Jake Delhomme took them to a Super Bowl one year. So they just have not had that one quarterback that you can say, that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's the guy that has led this team. Now, they probably have had more than their share of great defensive players. You know, you can name, you know, how, you know, just off the top of your head, you know, Leroy Selman, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, you know, John Lynch. You know, you can come up with those four immediately.
Sure.
You know, a lot of teams, you can't come up with that kind of defensive player in their history. So, but they've just never had anything resembling a big time quarterback. They just haven't.
You kind of wonder, Raheem Morris were there and the Bucs did what they did with Greg Schiano. Maybe that would have given them an opportunity, but it's neither here nor there. A lot of people kind of talking about Freeman in that year that he had. He led the Bucs 10-6. They didn't make the playoffs. Brad Johnson lead the Bucs to the playoffs. Of course, you had Doug Williams, you had Jameis Winston with all those great numbers, never lead this team to the playoffs. So again, it's football is definitely a crazy game, and it's all about the team itself. You definitely got to have all the components, the offensive line, the running game, the wide receivers, and especially with this organization, the defense. Let's go out to the web heads here. Let's talk to these guys, see what they have to say. Best Virtual Edits Video, what's going on? How you doing? 407 is here. Cool. Where's Tommy Boy? Bucks fam, how you doing? What's going on? Bucks Report, I'm doing great, enjoying this Monday. How about you, BR? We're great. We're talking football here. Bucks coaches reported in the building today. We talked a little bit about that. It's going to be hard to keep everything contained. Players will get COVID. This report today from Pro Football Talk, Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network says that by July, the NFL feels like they're going to have a saliva test, and it's going to be 90% sure, and they're going to test players 3 times. Once again, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances here, and like you said, those players testing positive today probably could be one of the worst things you've heard, because everything so far leading up to this point, in my opinion, has been nothing but positive. We're going to get fans back. We're going to start on time. But now I think, you know, there's a little bit of doubt with not only fans, but also the NFL, especially Roger Goodell, right?
Well, the National Football League is predicated around, you know, so much of the ability in the National Football League to have success is your availability. And injuries are a part of every season. And every year, there are stories on both teams that have lost, that have been just killed by injuries, and teams that were not really affected by injuries. But now add COVID into this mix.
Mm-hmm.
And while a guy can blow a knee or turn an ankle or pull a hammy or, whatever on any given play, the same is true when the day before you test your players and he's fine. Next day, if you were to test him, he now has it. So the question is going to be, how long is that rule going to be for the National Football League? And for the most part, they have really navigated these waters better than anybody else. Then again, their season, they were in the off season, and they have time to navigate those waters and to come up with the best plan they possibly can. This I can guarantee you is that the National Football League has looked at all sides of this, and they have a plan for, if all of a sudden half their teams, lose a starter to COVID, in, week 2 of training camp, I'm sure they have an idea of what they want to do. That's just where we are today. And when you look at everything else, the NBA right now is now going through, even though they had basically agreed to a plan, now Kyrie Irving has come in and thrown, that into a tizzy to where people are starting to question that. The NHL is going to have to come back with some type of a tournament to try to finish its season. And Major League Baseball has shown that, again, it just cannot get out of its own way when it comes to making real decisions about ownership and players and using their heads. And this time, I think if they mess it up again, really mess it up the way that they have in the past and take it to this level, I think, most sports fans will just basically write them off, and they will be years behind as far as coming back. I used to be the biggest baseball fan. Baseball was the sport I loved, and that's what I grew up with. Now, quite honestly, and even though I've got, I think, one of the best player personnel franchises in baseball here in the Tampa Bay Rays, they still do, the stupid thing about Montreal and the stupid thing about trying to get, a new stadium built for half a season and all this stuff. And, they come up with some really Looney Tune ideas. And that being said, as a fan base, this area really has never supported this team the way it could have supported this team and probably should have supported this team. So, the National Football League, I think, is smarter than everybody else. I think they will have a plan, and I think they will navigate through this, and they will have a season that will culminate in a big Super Bowl right here in Tampa, and that game will be played. If they have to push it back to May, that game will be played. So it's just where we are. And considering what so many people are going through right now, and considering where this world is on so many different fronts, it is what it is. Every day you just try to make it through and hope you don't see some bulletin from CNN or Fox News that is even more alarming.
Agree. And this is what the NFL Players Association, the medical director, Tom Meyer, had to say. We can't figure out how to fit the virus into football. We have to figure out how we're going to fit football into the virus. This is a badass virus. At least somebody knows at that juncture how serious it is. And I think and that's not a knock. I just feel like, looking at social media and some of the people, and then with some of the things that have been opened up, really people are just not taking it seriously enough. And I feel like that's why you have a spike in what you have. But that's neither here nor there. I just feel like if people want things to return to normal, you have to do some things by sacrificing, and that may be like social distancing, washing your hands, and also wearing a mask. Just saying. Speaking of your good buddy Doug Williams, I think I need a chance to talk to you about this. We'll go back to the webheads here in a moment. It was reported that they're going to have a biopic on him. First and foremost, how interested are you looking at that biopic from Doug Williams? And this is the perfect guy to really have that type of thing right now with, like you said, some of the things that are going on. I mean, I think this would be a great story for a lot of people to see the trials and tribulations and the adverse situations that he went through.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to see it because so much of that history is tied into, is the history of this franchise and the history of professional sports in the Tampa Bay area. If you've ever had the opportunity, and some people have, and unfortunately not enough people have, but if you ever get a chance to speak with Doug Williams, do so, because there isn't a classier man on this planet, and, this is a guy, let's not forget, that lost his wife while he was here. Had to be, while you're a National Football League, a starting quarterback in the National Football League, you now are you are the lone parent, of the family, and bringing this up, and to lose your partner and to lose your wife. And that's got nothing to do with everything he had to put up with either on the field or what it was like to be a black starting quarterback in the South during that time. And Doug Williams, his story, and I would, if it's true they're going to do something with him, I can't wait to see it. I just can't.
Yeah, I hope it's a lot better than what was on last night with the baseball Long Gone Summer, because I think they just kind of glossed over everything and they showed the chase. That's all well and good, but they didn't really show the consequences and what they really did go into detail. That I would have liked to see both sides of the story. I think everybody's kind of expecting The Last Dance, and it just hasn't lived up to it. ESPN with their 30 for 30. All right, let's go. Tom Brady was in a Bucs jersey. Well, and he was in the orange jersey, but he wasn't in the Bucs jersey. So, again, they're teasing that. Best Virtual Edits video says, let's see. I can't call. I have T-Mobile. I guess T-Mobile is down. Ben Cornett says, creepy Peter. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, phones are all screwed up today. Anyway, there is a cyber attack going on at this moment. Hopefully not. Well, speaking of cyber moment, I guess there's not, because we got your favorite caller on here, Johnny Dean, the professor. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. You're on the sports web. Yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Keck. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just called in. Well, there's a background there.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I just called in to quantify my list. My list was geez, all of it. My list was all about a quarterback ability. Okay, when Al put Doug Williams up there, I understood 100% that's the most beloved quarterback. But I also get his list. His list is telling everybody, look, we don't have any great quarterbacks. And Doug Williams, yes, 100%. If I pick my favorite Buccaneer and the favorite story I want to see, it'd be between Doug Williams and Leroy Selman, or maybe even Ricky Bell, because he had a hell of a story too. But that's all I want to say. I can't get on the sun. We're under attack, man. This all has now.
Okay. All right, Johnny Dean. You don't want to talk? I guess he didn't have a question for you at all. I thought you were going to debate that.
Who's on his list?
Well, he said he didn't give a list. I think he said, basically the reason why he wouldn't take Doug is because he didn't feel like Doug was that effective in his career when he was with Tampa. His numbers didn't show up like Brad Johnson or other quarterbacks. That's what I'm getting out of it. So he didn't.
Well, the game was different then. There were two completely, different eras. And
good point.
I just think if Doug Williams had been, paid even close to fairly, and even if he had spent another 3 years, that we would have seen a completely different type of Doug Williams. And again, you can't really look at the numbers during that time and say, well, you know what, his numbers were nowhere near what, some of these, other quarterbacks' numbers are. It's because the game was completely different. It was still a run-oriented game. And again, his job, especially very early on, was to just kind of game manage and just score when you can and make sure you didn't lose it for that defense. And again, I can't emphasize enough, when he became a starting quarterback, within 2 years, he had the Bucs in the NFC Championship game. And this was, 3 years after the Bucs put together, without a doubt, the worst team in the history of the National Football League, and one of the worst teams in the history of professional sports, not winning a game until almost 2/3 of the way of their second season. So, for him to start off with that, and still by 1979, after getting drafted in 1978, in 1979, having this team in the NFC Championship game, I just think that speaks volumes.
I think you're right. I definitely think you're right. Williams says, howdy, folks. Let's go here. Tampa Prep, O.J. Howard or Cameron Brate. And I think he asked before, is this a TV show? It is the evolution of sports talk television. It's also a TV and radio show, but we just call it the evolution. So O.J. Howard, Cam Brate, who do you take? For me, it's Howard. I think he's going to get more opportunities. Of course, he has more potential. But now that he doesn't have to necessarily be the number one tight end, I feel like he doesn't necessarily have all that pressure, plus playing with the quarterback and Tom Brady, who's going to most likely get him the ball. With everything being talked about with this team going to 12 personnel, I think Howard makes more of an impact than Cameron Brate. What do you say?
Well, I mean, he may be that, third wide receiver for the Bucs. You could put him in that role, and now you've got some incredible natural athletic ability to really kind of take over. And at that point, when you've got defenses focusing upon Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and, according to Diana Rossini, they won't pay any attention to Gronk.
None.
And so, now all of a sudden, you've got O.J. Howard, throw him in the mix as a wide receiver against some of these, smaller defensive backs, when he can run almost as well as they can and can certainly out jump and, make a lot of plays. I kind of like that matchup.
All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Peter, what's up, man? It's Curtis, man.
You got Curtis on here, one of my favorite callers. You're on with yours truly, along with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. You got a question for Al or a comment?
No, I was late to the show. I'm trying to see what you guys were talking about.
Well, basically, of course, the coach is returning today, and there was some controversial comments last week from Diana Rossini, followed up by Dominique Foxworth, who played in the league, basically saying in so many words, whoever Diana talked to, they're right. Gronkowski is going to be a slightly average tight end, so they're not going to really focus on him. That would be NFL defensive coordinators. Your thoughts on that? And then, of course, we did Al's top 10 quarterbacks in Tampa Bay Buccaneer history. Do you have a top 5?
I want to know what his top ones were.
His top were, let me think here. The 5.
Here I got.
He's got.
Okay, here are the top 5. Vinny at number 5, Brad Johnson at number 4, Josh Freeman at number 3, Jameis Winston at number 2, Doug Williams at number 1.
What do you
say? I have no debate against that.
No debate at all.
No
None?
debate.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
What I will tell you is, and now listen, people might judge me for saying this. I think one of the most underrated quarterbacks that played for the Bucs was Sean King, but he had no talent around him.
Well, this is exactly what Al Keck said. He said the same thing, and a lot of people go, well, they didn't score a touchdown in the NFC Championship game, but going back to that, Al, didn't he come in on a Monday Night Football game, won a big Monday Night Football game, won some big-time games, and you're exactly right. Offensively, never really had the weapons at that point.
Like, what do we have? Jacquez Green and Bert Emanuel,
Riedel Anthony called.
Riedel Anthony.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Well, again, this was an offense that was built in the way that Tony wanted an offense built, which is built around Warwick Dunn and Mike Allstott. And you threw just enough to keep that defense honest. And Sean King was effective at that, and it got them to to fairly deep into the playoffs. But you can't beat a team like Philadelphia, with Philadelphia's defense, especially at Philadelphia. You can't beat a team like that at that point in the season with the Sean King at quarterback. But he was still an effective quarterback for this team.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry, but all his receivers were to me, were second and third string guys.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And Sean King got it done in a situation where Trent Dilfer goes out in that 99 year, and King has to come in middle part of the year and basically, as a rookie, take the controls to this team. Is that not right? Is that not correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So there you go.
And the Gronkowski thing, I'll tell you what. This is my personal opinion on it. If he's going to be a decoy, he's a hell of a decoy.
Go ahead, Curtis. I'm sorry.
If he's going to be a decoy, he's going to be a hell of a decoy.
Yeah, I mean,
a decoy that can pretty much beat any linebacker or safety or cornerback that guards him one-on-one.
Right. I mean, I just can't. I cannot fathom that defensive coordinators are actually saying right now that Rob Gronkowski has lost a step. Is he the player he used to be? I kind of think he got helped out by not playing for a year. So that's going to rejuvenate him. And then on top of it, not having a voice like Bill Belichick all up in your grill, now you have Bruce Arians. So you have
Bruce Arians is going to allow him to be who he is as long as he isn't out there doing what he's not supposed to be doing. And we actually could see some stuff out of Gronk that we seen and made him the great player that he was.
Yeah, I definitely like to see that, and I think there's certainly a possibility. They mentioned the weapons of Godwin and Evans, but I think it works both ways. If you try to double up on those players and turn and shut them down with the 12 personnel, you're going to have those opportunities to have a Gronk or an O.J. Howard. In fact, let me ask you this. Who would you favor? Would you favor an O.J. Howard, or would you favor Cameron Brate to break out this year for this team?
Honestly, both.
Okay.
Because, if let's say Gronk is a decoy, and what if Bruce Arians decides to throw in a 3 tight end wrinkle? Who are you gonna guard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great problem to have. It really is. It's a great problem to have, and I think it's what the Bucs and Coach Arians and this offensive staff is looking forward to having those mismatch nightmares, especially on the goal line. If you go those 3 tight end sets, not only are you going to be better blocking with the Rob Gronkowski, but also you're going to have those matchup problems where, like you said, if you try to go one-on-one with a cornerback or a safety, I feel like you're at an advantage with those tight ends. Anything else, Curtis?
No, that's it, man. I just want you guys to pray for me, man. I lost my, Peter, after the show Friday, man, I had lost my grandmother Saturday morning.
Sorry, man.
And she was a huge Buccaneers fan, man. So I would love for you guys to pray for me and my family, man.
Absolutely. So sorry.
Absolutely, buddy.
Yeah, man.
We're here with
man.
you.
Dude, it hurt me to my heart, man. That's my heart and soul. I love her with all my heart, man. So just if you guys could just pray for me, man. And thank you guys so much.
Absolutely, man. We're definitely praying for you here on Bucs Report and on the Sports Web. We're a family here, so definitely hang in there and grieve as much as you want to. And
yeah, absolutely. The only thing I didn't agree with was she was married to a Saints fan, so we didn't like that guy.
Well, there you go. So good for your grandma. She picked the right side, and she's definitely looking down on you right now, my friend, because I love having you on this show, and you're the reason. You're one of the fans here that I look forward to. There's some nights where you get up and you don't necessarily want to do a sports talk show, but it's fans like you, Curtis, that make it possible for me to
And
say,
man, I love listening to you, Al. Man, I love your stories, Al. Man, just
Thank you.
your knowledge and your history, man. Just it reminds me of just talking to my grandma, man. So many nights, man. And just you guys are great, man. And I'd love to get on you guys' show one night and just go at it with anybody.
hey, we can
Thank you.
we can definitely make that happen, Curtis. Hang in there, buddy. God bless you. We'll be praying for you, and definitely don't be a stranger on the sports web. All right, boss?
All right, brother.
All right, there you go, man. It's sad to hear that, but you know what? At the end of the day, he's still able to call the show because this takes his mind off of it. And like you said, sports is a tool that I like to use for a distraction. We need this, and this is what you get here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights here on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck.
Hey, Peter, how about this? If Gronk ends up being the third option on a lot of these plays, my question is, how good is this offense going to be?
That's it. And that's a great thing to have. It's a great problem to have. You mentioned baseball. It's kind of like having your first, second, and third starters. They're really good, but your back end is also good. So you don't necessarily have to put the pressure on there, or having such good starters in your starting rotation that you don't have to use your bullpen. If Rob Gronkowski is the third, fourth, or fifth option on this team, the Bucks are definitely doing something right. Tell you what, let's go back out to the phone lines here. We'll take one more call. We'll get you out of here, Al Keck. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Rick from Atlanta, what's on your mind?
Hey, brothers. How you guys doing?
Doing great. You tell me. How are you doing?
Oh, hanging in there.
Okay.
Hey, I want to tell you, I am so excited hearing about Brady basically coaching with Deion's son and the whole thing. The fact that he's got that coaching mentality in him, listening to, hearing some of the detail, the stuff that went on there and all that is pretty cool. And I am more excited now than I have been the entire time. I've always been jacked up about it. I've always been, okay, this is going to be great. But I'm convinced now, more than ever, that this guy's a leader like we've never seen here. And I just think it's like this team's going to take a hard turn, a hard corner towards a different kind of culture. And what I wanted to bring up is not just the year or two that he's here, or more, I guess it could be, but it's a potential culture change here, because it's not just changing coaches every 2 years. Even if we change, we're going to keep kind of the same system. Everybody sort of knows there's a plan for the future. And I don't remember that being the case with the Bucks in a very long time. It always feels like we're just kind of by the seat of our pants, just kind of whatever. Hey, can we get this guy? Can we get that guy? We know what's coming down the pike. We know it's either going to be Todd Bowles or Byron Leftwich. We know the kind of things that we're facing, and I get the feeling. I'm guessing Byron Leftwich is just soaking it up and learning from both of them. I can imagine Brady's looking at Leftwich in many ways, just going, "I got this."
What do you think, Al?
Well, I think here's going to be an interesting situation. Let's say the Bucks go 11-5, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, they go deep in the playoffs. Okay, and whether or not they go to a Super Bowl or not, I don't know. But at the end of the season, and if the Bucks have anywhere near the type of offense that they had last year, I can guarantee you that after the season, one of the most sought after coaches, head coaching candidates in football would be Byron Leftwich. And I would say that it would all start that the first team to come full steam ahead after him would be Jacksonville, his former team. Because I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Jaguars make a change off of Doug Marrone next year. So, and if the Bucks have any kind of a season, Byron Leftwich is going to be a leading candidate for that job. So it's going to be interesting. Can they keep Leftwich? Can they keep Todd Bowles? Can they keep some of these guys? And,
what
if Bruce only wants to coach X amount of years, who would be the guy, who would be the next guy in line from there with the Bucks? And does anybody want that job if the Bucks only keep Brady for 2 years? Because there's no plan right now as to who the quarterback is from there. So it'll be fun. It'll just be a fun ride. And as far as having any kind of plan, I don't know about that, but I think the plan is to have Bruce Arians, do the best he can. And this roster, I think, is set up in a way to where there aren't a whole lot of really old pieces here. And I think it's still a fairly young team that they can replace key people, and still have room under the cap.
Good stuff, Rick. Anything else?
They have quite a bit of cap space, I know, next year and the coming years. They also got some key people that they need to re-sign. But I guess what do they have? Do you know what the contracts are like? Because I know in the past there are times teams wanted to talk to Kiffin and they said no.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucs said no. I mean, I don't know what the contracts are like.
With those new rules now that have been implemented by the NFL, it is going to give guys like a Byron Leftwich and a Todd Bowles the opportunity, because now those teams can't restrict those coaches, especially a Leftwich, who not only is a minority candidate, but may be a hot commodity depending on the success of this Bucs team. Remember, they were third last year. If he does something like that again, there's going to be teams out there that are going to be looking at him. And, in the past, teams were able to stop those candidates from going to other teams. Now they're not going to be able to with these NFL rules that they've implemented, which is good. It's bad for the team, but it's good for the other ones. And it's good for the candidate, because that candidate is going to get the great opportunity to interview for a job that maybe in years past he wouldn't have got the opportunity for because of the team blocking it.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you guys feel like Leftwich is that great of a coach? If I remember the beginning of the year, my impression, I'm no expert. I'm just talking from the cheap seats. I didn't think he called very good games at the beginning of the year. Now, later on in the year, things got better, and I'm not sure how much Arians got called.
Well, I mean, I definitely think there were some plays at that point during the season, and third and fourth down, very questionable. I think he got better when the season progressively got better. So I think this is a big year for him, especially, having that pressure, not only having the greatest quarterback of all time, but having all these weapons. And if this offense starts out slow, I kind of believe that Coach Arians may take over the reins of play calling. How do you feel about that, Al?
Well, I think Tom Brady is going to have more to do about a lot of these play calls than a lot of the coaches, because I think it's going to be they will defer to him as to, what works best and what works best for him. And that's why you have a Tom Brady. I do think, however, if the Bucs end up going to the playoffs next season, and if they have anything resembling what could be a successful offense, that Byron Leftwich, as a former quarterback in this league, as a guy that can be a great story to write around and to talk about, and the fact that with the lack of minorities as far as being head coaches, that to have a candidate like that, I think he will definitely get some opportunities. And I think, like I said, the first place that will look at him very seriously would be Jacksonville, because it would be an opportunity for him to go to where and play for the team that he was drafted by, or the coach team that he was drafted by. So, I can see that happening. That said, if this defense continues to play like it did at the end of last season, and, I would think that Todd Bowles would also be a candidate that would get a lot of interviews. So, again, it all depends on how well this team plays this coming season.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Rick. Anything else?
Okay, one more thing. There's a part of me that if we lost him as our offensive coordinator, I don't know that that's a tragedy in the sense that you do still have Arians.
Right.
And I don't know how involved he is. I'd be mortified if we lost Todd Bowles. I think he's very critical to this team. And if they went and said, listen, you're the quote unquote assistant head, I mean, you're the, what's the other word that they use for kind of like you're the
assistant,
you're the other head coach?
Yeah, assistant coach. And they can't even do that anymore. They can't even put those titles on there because they kind of found out the little dirty secret that teams do. They put that assistant coach ranking on there and
assistant head coach.
Yeah, assistant head coach. So they can't really do that anymore. So, and that's why the rules were put into place in the first place, to give not only minority candidates the opportunity, but just coaching candidates, because it seems like you still have the same retread coaches. And in order for you to get some new blood into the league, you give those opportunities to assistants that wouldn't have those opportunities in the past. Good stuff, Rick. Thanks a lot for calling the Sports Web. All right, boss?
Thank you, man.
All right, there you go. So, Al, we'll get you out of here. Any final thoughts at this point?
No. Again, it's today was a tough day for the National Football League. Losing Zeke. Losing Zeke to the testing positive for the coronavirus. That's just going to get people to start talking, or for this to kind of fall back to earth. We still have no idea what to expect, from this stuff. But I do believe that the National Football League has the best plan of anybody out there. And I think they have the best doctors. I think they're getting the best advice. I think they really understand. And when you're thinking about it, here it is, the second week of June, starting the third week in June. And, and coaches are finally just starting to go back to the facilities. They've been very, very careful with this, and they're going to have to be very careful with this. I don't see a full preseason. I don't see 4 preseason games. I think they may get 2 and probably 1 game in. And I think that could play right into the Bucs' hands, because, when the Bucs play New Orleans in week 1, there's very little that Drew Brees can do that would surprise the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That said, nobody knows what to expect from Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, I think the best thing that could happen to the Bucs is they don't really unveil this offense until the first game, and then just, take the ribbon off the box and let her rip.
Absolutely. So, there you go. Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, joining me here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I tell you what, I got an idea. You'll probably enjoy this. Top 10 worst quarterbacks in Bucs history.
You know what? Here's the thing, and this is something we need to remember, is that if you're in the National Football League, you still accomplished, a ton.
Right.
And I remember so many of my colleagues, back when Vinny was playing, and, all they were doing was pounding the table. I'd love to give you the names of these people now, because it would show just how dense they are. But the guys that were, beating the table for Chris Chandler, Chris Chandler's got to be the guy. Chris Chandler's got to be the quarterback. Get rid of Vinny. Chris Chandler's got to be the guy. And finally, they make the change to Chris Chandler, and he was even worse than, you can't even imagine how poorly he played. And I just wanted to say, okay, there you go. But still, Chris Chandler ended up having an effective NFL season, or an effective NFL career. So if you can make it to the NFL and be on a roster, you still have a chance. You're still one of the best in the world at what you do, and Eric Zier still may not be the biggest name in Bucs quarterback history, but You talk to people at the University of Georgia about Eric Zier, and they will speak glowingly about Eric Zier. And he still got an opportunity to play in the National Football League. So I would have loved that opportunity to say, hey, I played 5 years in the NFL. That should set you up for the rest of your life. Not financially, but it should set you up to where what company doesn't want a former NFL quarterback in their company? As long as you don't do some moron stuff, you have a chance to be set up for the rest of your life.
And you're set up here on Monday nights with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck. Thanks a lot for your time, all right?
All right, you got it.
All right, there you go. So Mr. Al Keck was on with us. We'll read the rest of these comments, but first, let's go ahead, get these guys on. Mr. Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49, welcome to the Evolution. And then we also have got Mr. Joshua Cole Allen, one of our newest writers here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
Doing great, Peter. How you doing?
I didn't hear you there for a minute, Blake.
Stalemate. Who was gonna blink first? I gave Blake the floor because he's got the seniority, but he opened it up for me, so I'll take it.
You guys
Yep, going great.
Okay, all right. I'll tell you what. Let's go out to the webheads here, read some comments from these guys, and then we'll talk with you, or you can answer any of these comments that you want to, because this is an interactive show. Webheads, also phone call line is open, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. All right, let's see. I love Garcia, and no, it wasn't because of Carmen. Out loud. I love Josh Freeman. Sup, William. We already talked about that. It's a live sports talk show, very interactive. They will read your comments. That's what we're doing right now. What do you guys think about Jeff Garcia?
In what regard? As a player?
Yeah, as a player, yes, for the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, he was very productive in his time here. He got with a head coach that best fit his skill set, a West Coast. Jeff Garcia didn't have a strong arm. I know there was a lot of jokes about him saying he could never overthrow Joey Galloway. I remember they used to make jokes about that all the time, but I think he was very effective in his time in the NFL and his time with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, give or take the situation he was put in.
Jeff Garcia.
I'd have to agree with that. He wasn't a wild player. He had a couple of wild players that played with him, T.O., Joey Galloway. He was a serviceable NFL quarterback that got some wins and it did some good things in the league, but he wasn't a blow your socks off type of guy where you're like, oh, Jeff Garcia, he's the greatest. But I mean, he got the job done for what he was supposed to do for the most part, and he's a good player.
All right, let's go back out to the webheads. Johnny Dean getting impatient, ready for the season to start. Do you guys think that Wirfs will be a weak link? For me, that's one of the biggest question marks. Of course, the offensive line with the 47 sacks, but putting a rookie at right tackle. But everything that you heard with him and his draft status and him coming out of the combine and the Bucs trading up one spot, you would expect, Blake, that he would come in and start right away. Do you think that he's a question mark? Do you feel like he's going to translate over for this Bucs team, or do you think he could struggle early?
Jeez, doubts already about Wirfs. Of course, I don't see that being an issue. Him transitioning, all it is just catching up to speed and playing offensive line. You just got to learn your plays and understand your blocking schemes. Ryan Jensen's going to communicate what's going on there because he's the center of the offensive line. Then you got Kappa, who's been there a couple of years. And so it's not like he's going to be out there all by himself with a bunch of rookies. You got guys out there that's been in the system around these guys for a while. That is the good part about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line. They have been around each other a while. They ain't all new. He's the only new one on the line currently right now. So I don't think the transition will be hard. It's good. He's gonna run up against people that are going to be better than him. That's just football. But that's how you separate good from great. You got to adjust and figure out how you're going to beat that guy and not let your quarterback get pummeled all game. What do you think, Josh?
I think the same thing. I think he's, his draft status, his pedigree, his athleticism puts him in a position to succeed right away, especially with Gronk and OJ there to kind of help chip on blocks if he needs it. If he does struggle, I think that's exactly why you brought in someone like Joe Haig to help bring him along if there's early struggles. And even if he does struggle a little bit early, I think the Buccaneers will give him every chance to kind of, learn from his mistakes quickly. But if we're going into week 6 and he's still having, really difficult struggles, especially in pass protection, I'm not worried about as a run blocker. Pass pro is what I'm really worried about. And not even so much worried about, but as far as, him being able to do it at the NFL level, pass pro is where I'm really looking at. And if he's still struggling by week 6, week 7 with that and not picking it up and kind of letting up sacks and being a liability, I think that's where you see maybe Joe Hay go in, which is also difficult because you don't want to stunt a rookie's growth and you don't want to make him feel, lose his confidence. So I don't see that perhaps happening at all. But if he does, that's why you have Haig there as backup.
All right, let's go out to Johnny Dean. The Sports Web airs on several platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. That it does. Everyone always says Donovan Smith is bad, but this is Worth's first rodeo. And I thought it was interesting with this report from yardbarker.com. They were breaking down all the NFL teams. They gave the Bucs an A+, and they even put in there that Wirfs could have an opportunity not only to play the right tackle position, but the left tackle position. Do you guys, and Blake, you can go first, do you feel like there's a possibility that if Donovan Smith struggles, where they could shift a Wirfs into that left tackle spot, move Smith to the right tackle spot?
That would be an absolutely huge change in your offensive line. Donovan Smith has never played right tackle from college to the NFL. Neither has Tristan Wirfs. So now you're retraining guys to learn how to play 2 different spots. And it's not really all the same as playing guard and playing guards, because that's pretty much the same. But playing tackles, you're backstepping different angles that you haven't done over years, and then you want to do this on a pro level. Is it a possibility? Absolutely it is. But is it a wise one? I don't think so.
And I'd have to agree with that as well. I mean, you're talking about the difference in pass rushers as well from the right side to the left side. And just, I can see it happening next year. If Donovan Smith continues to struggle, then, approaching Donovan Smith, say, hey, you've got this much money. You're not guaranteed any of it. We'd like you to maybe switch to the right tackle, take a pay cut. If that's something that he's, willing to do, move Wirfs over to the left tackle, which is a position I feel like he could succeed with a normal offseason underneath his belt. He's got the athleticism for it. He's got the strength and the size for it as well. And then a right tackle, something maybe you address in the second round next year. You have Joe Haig. I believe you locked him up for 2 years. You kind of play that game, shuffle around. But I expect a big season out of Donovan Smith. I think he knows what he has at stake, not just from a team perspective, a Super Bowl perspective, Tom Brady, and then also a contract perspective, because he knows his guaranteed money is up and he could be cut. And if he does have a poor year, he's not getting anywhere close to $14 million on the open market, most likely with a bad season. So even if he has, an above average season, I think that kind of gives the Buccaneers a reason to keep him locked in at that $14 million. When we just saw what Laramie Tunsil got, we're going to see what Ronnie Staley's going to get. The tackle market, is always in demand, and it's just going to jump even higher. So if you can keep him at 14, he plays above average this year. Hopefully, he continues. You don't even have to move Tristan Wirfs, and you've got your left and right tackle for the future.
Good point. You're on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. Of course, we got our newest writer here, Joshua Cole Allen, working diligently, as he always does here on the Sports Web, picking up interviews, doing interviews, and we got something on Wednesday night, possibly. What's going on, Josh?
So Wednesday night, we've had our interview with Reed Sinnett. He was our first interview that we did here. He's actually going to come on the show live. We're going to do a couple questions. We'll do a this or that, favorites type of deal, rapid fire, like example, like Xbox or PlayStation, and, he'll rapid fire him off, kind of get to know him a little bit more as a person, not just as an athlete, and about his story, because we kind of touched on that in the first interview. So now we'll kind of get more about what's been going on this last month, some of his, dislikes, favorites, all that stuff. And then we'll, also incorporate you guys as well. So what we're going to do is after the show on Twitter and the Facebook page, if you go on there, you can, put a comment in the post and ask your questions to Reed Sinnett. Can't promise we'll get to all of them. We only have a limited time, but we'll definitely pick some of the, the best ones we feel out of that aren't repetitive. And asking those questions. So you gotta make sure you're tuning in as well, so your question might be asked. And I'm gonna try to do this with everyone that I've interviewed. So we'll bring them back on, bring them live. Obviously, we won't have the echo. We'll have better quality here. and then we'll do the same thing, kind of learn more about them as a person, because we kind of know about them as a player and their journey. So I figured that'd be a cool thing to bring to Bucks Report, especially for the fans. Like I said, we'll have that fan interaction where you'll be able to ask him a question, through the comment section, and we'll ask it for him. We'll say, this question is by Johnny Dean, something like that. So it should be very exciting. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be right when the show opens, to around 9:15. She'll be on. So make sure you're tuned in, logged in early.
Yeah, we'll go 9 o'clock on that. We start the show at 9, so we'll get you on and get him on, and we'll take your questions. And we'll take your questions right now. If you want to call the phone line, they can actually hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you. They can hear you too if you have a question for them. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Johnny Dean says, I doubt it works will be put into a position to succeed. I believe they know his weaknesses and will adjust. Tampa Prep, true. I truly believe they will adjust to him. Then again, he's playing right tackle. Smith will be on the other side. I believe he will be okay. Tampa Prep, yeah, I hope the best for Smith. Tampa Prep, thanks a lot for tuning in tonight on YouTube, of course, live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Like and follow and subscribe and stalk, whatever else they do here on social media. It's a crazy situation, so definitely take advantage of it. Smith will be okay. Best virtual edits video. He literally has to be. You got this. Absolutely. They paid him a bag, and now he needs to return blocking stellar for Gronk. I mean, Brady, laugh out loud. Let's see. Gronk is the great blocker. Gronk is a great blocker himself. I agree with that. We were talking about this with the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend Al Keck. Once again, kind of a doubling down here, guys, from Dominique Foxworth on Get Up, where he basically says Diana's talking to the right people. There are people out there that don't believe that Gronkowski is the tight end he used to be. Something along the lines, and I'll read the comments again, just the ending ones. Not to say Rob Gronkowski is going to be bad, but I think it would be wishful thinking to expect him to be above average to that point that he was before. I think he will be slightly above average, whatever that means. But basically his point was, and he's played in the NFL, so you give him some respect, but they have Godwin, they have Evans, and a guy like O.J. Howard could really see a lot more touches because of Brady being at quarterback more than Gronkowski. Blake, what do you think of the comments and the doubling down from Foxworth?
The doubling down from Foxworth. Well, first off, Foxworth played for 6 years in the league, was picked up at 2005 and played to 2011 and only had 8 interceptions. So his credibility on covering people, I wouldn't say is the best. For starters, though, he did play in the league, and that should be something, accolade. But let's be clear here. Gronk said he was never done with football. He said he needed to take a break. And there have been players that have done that, and they come back fine. I don't know where this misconception has come from, where people think that if you step away from the game, you just suddenly just drop off astronomically. Let's put it to you like this. If you injure your knee and you're out for the entire year, just like Brandon Brooks from the Eagles, that's essentially out for the entire year. So you're telling me he's going to come back next year and be just terrible. People do it all the time, as long as you're doing the things you're supposed to do when you're in training regimen and staying yourself in shape and things like that. And it should be fine. But if they don't want to cut double Gronk or cover Gronk, that's fine with me. Leave him open. That's just going to be more catches for him. You'll be doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady a favor if you leave him uncovered. That's totally fine. But I just wouldn't take his word as much. I just think a lot of that was just to get people's reaction to like we're talking about right now.
Slightly above average, Joshua. What do you think?
I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. I've got a pen in my hand, and I'm writing down the names Diana Rossini, Dominique Foxworth, because that's what Gronk just did. That's what Gronk just did. What did you say about me? Above average? He's arguably the best tight end of all time. Sorry, Johnny Dean. But he's had a year off to rehab, to get those injuries. He's got that passion. He's got that fire. He's back with Tommy Boy. He knows what's at stake here. He knows the weapons. Yes, will he maybe his numbers to be the lowest that he's ever had in his career because of everyone else there to be able to catch and run and receive the ball and everything like that? Yeah, that could be possible. But to say that he's going to be an above average tight end as a player himself, not talking about, spreading the ball around is absolutely insane. I mean, this guy's going to come out with a fire under his what. And we've said it before. He's here. He's the only one with chemistry with Tom Brady as of so far that knows his moves, knows his steps, knows his head nods, knows his shakes, knows his shoulder shrugs, everything like that. The chemistry is there. So if you think that, tune in week 1, tune in week 2, tune in week 3, when he's still developing all this chemistry in game action with these other receivers, and tell me that he's an above average tight end. He's an above average blocking tight end, even taking a year off. He's superior, So I just don't see it. He's refreshed. He's able to take his CBD, which is something that he couldn't do before because now marijuana is not tested for. So
Right.
he can take his CBD that is huge for his pain relief, that he swears by it. He's off painkillers. And like you said, he had contusions in his legs and his thighs and his bruise, and he still has marks where he had a contusion from as well that have all had over a year now to heal. He's perfectly healthy. He put the weight back on. He might have one more shake to drink. I don't know, but he's ready to go, and he's going to make a big impact, especially early on and late in the season. Like I said, they might rest him a little bit in the middle to make sure he's fresh, but early on in the season, he's going to be Brady's go-to guy because he's going to be his security blanket because he knows him, he's familiar with him and all of his moves and knows what he's capable of. So it's just poppycock.
It really is. And if you pick your poison and you decide to double up on him, then that leaves an Evans open, that leaves a Godwin open, and leaves a Howard open. So, I mean, you really can't lose. It's a good problem for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have, and I think that's where they envision this team going this year in 2020. Gronk may help. Warf South says best.
Absolutely.
Video. True. Gronk goes crazy, says Tampa. Prep. Ben Cornette, you're being awful quiet tonight. Yep, we should be good. Elbow cough. All right. Johnny D. I don't know what that's all about. Best virtual edits video. Only thing I'm truly worried about is Peter giving me my Snickers and the Bucs secondary as a whole. We've kind of talked about the first and foremost. I'm not giving you anything. You're on the sports web. That should be enough. And then besides that, I'm just kidding. Love you, man. The secondary is to me, it's going to be a strength. I think it's going to be the most underrated factor, and I'm excited about this secondary coming into a second year. Having Winfield back there is a natural ball hawk, as Yard Barker's talked about and as we've talked about in the show. But having Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting and Carlton Davis another year in this defensive system, I feel like for years to come, this may be something really special with all these kids being able to grow up together and play together is only going to make them stronger.
Exactly. I'm that's the same. I'm the same with you, Peter. That's the most exciting point of this team for me. I cannot wait to watch this young secondary kind of develop and grow. I'm excited for the offense. Yeah, that's like saying, who's the favorite quarterback, or who's the best player on, it's Brady, so you don't mention it. You go for your next one, So the offense is something that everyone's excited to see, obviously. But as far as, not non-offense, secondary, I cannot wait to see how they gel and how they all communicate and progress as a team. Can't wait to see Antoine Winfield Jr. out there. So I'd have to agree 100%. I'm very excited to watch this secondary.
Well, you're a defensive guy. What do you think about this secondary? Are you excited about it? I mean, I get it. They're very young, but they're going to be more experienced. And that time last year where they're able to take their lumps, I think that's going to benefit them in this coming year. What do you say?
Always, anything with extra time is gonna benefit anybody, and getting more knowledgeable into your system is going to help too, especially with the young guys. After the Seattle game, taking an extra step to study more with Todd Bowles. That's why you saw the accelerated play come into works and later on in the season, because those guys actually took the extra steps to study with Todd Bowles and learn how to beat certain certain routes and things like that, because they were running those rub routes on those DBs and taking advantage of them and beating them on elongated crossing routes, and they figured out how to beat those and jump those routes, that's why you saw Dean and Carlton Davis's pass breakups came. They're learning, so they're actually, that's the good part, that you're implementing the things that you're being taught. Because I believe it was the Titans game, and Bruce Arians kind of got on the defensive backs, i.e. Carlton Davis. I was screaming at that game the entire time. When he gave up the out route to, I think it was Sterling Sharp, not Sterling Sharp, I think it was Sharp. I can't remember his first name. Sharp.
Tajay.
Yeah, Sharp on the out route, and they said, Why would you play inside coverage when you have inside help? And the only way you could get beat is in the outside route, and that's exactly what happened to him. He got beat on the outside route. It's just you're not thinking. So those guys, I think, after that game and later on in the season, they started implementing that things. Now with the addition of Antoine Winfield, I think that the Bucs are going to play a lot of three safety looks. Not sure who's going to be down in the box or who's going to be over top. I'm sure it's going to rotate, and then you'll have the two guys on the outside. Not sure. I'm sure one's going to be Carlton. Not sure if the other one's going to be Dean or Murphy Bunting. I'm sure they'll probably switch out given the matchups and things like that. That's how Todd Bowles works. But it's going to be interesting to see the rotation. The most part is that you have depth and you have a lot of rotation to move guys around, and you're not forced to make an apple be an orange if that's easy.
And I think, Josh, all these corners, and Blake, you can comment on this, are kind of the same build, right? I mean, it's kind of what the NFL wants you to be as a corner. You're not smallish like a Vernon Hargreaves. You're 6 foot, 6'1", physical type of corner, and all seem like they can run.
Carlton Davis.
Exactly.
Oh, go ahead. Carlton Davis is big. He's like 6'1", 200 pounds. I don't think there's any 200-pound corners.
And you got to remember, too, when the Legion of Boom, because that's where these big, tall, physical corners started, Brisarians was in where? Arizona. In what division? Against Seattle. So he knows, I mean, obviously he didn't draft all of them, but he knows the type of cornerback and type of, player he needs to go up against wide receivers in the NFL. They're all big. They're all can move. I mean, except for MJ Stewart. But they're all big and they all can move. So they can play inside, outside. They have scheme versatility. And as Blake was saying, you can see a lot of three safety, but you can also see a lot of, three cornerbacks because you have three cornerbacks who are NFL caliber players in Murphy, Bunting, Dean, and Davis, who can all, kind of interchange and play inside, outside, and do it at a high level. We hope that continues this year. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do, how they progress. I know that Carlton Davis, they're still, staying in communication and going over tape and looking at plays and stuff like that. So them keeping that camaraderie and that chemistry in the offseason is only going to help them once training camp starts next month.
Once training camp starts, you know that they're going to get a boost because they're going to have to play against the greatest in a Tom Brady. So that's definitely going to help them out. And you look at how all these corners came on last year. Carlton Davis, the last couple of games, really played against some top talent. Besides the aggressive nature, played well. Sean Murphy Bunting made some plays, and Jamel Dean could be the best out of the bunch. To me, I think the future is bright. And when everybody says secondary, to me, is a big time question mark. The only question is because they're not big time names. But if you look inside the numbers and the stats, and you look at their play last year, and I get it was the second half of the year, but they finally got an opportunity to play. You really start to see why the Bucs drafted so many secondary players. Now they have the opportunity for these players to develop how special they could be in the future.
And that's the great thing too, Peter, is because the second half of the season is when teams are usually gelled. They found their identity. They know what they're doing. Everyone's usually in the right place, unless you're, a bad team or anything like that. But they know what they're doing. So when you're coming in the second part of the year and you're improving against teams that know what they're doing, know what they're best at, know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and trying to do that every week against you. And, now you're coming into it. That just speaks volumes for that, too. Another thing from the Keon Crossan interview, I don't know if you guys had watched that, but he was a seventh-round cornerback from the Patriots. Tom Brady sought him out and asked him for advice on certain things. And he also picked Tom Brady's brain. And Tom didn't big-time anybody. That's not who he is. He wants everyone on the team to be good. So these players will not only get a chance to practice against Tom, but they'll also get a chance to pick his brain. And I'm sure Tom will come up to them multiple times during practice and throughout the season and be like, hey, so what did you see on this? Or what did you see on that? And they'll be able to pick up on that as well as going against the greatest quarterback of all time, but also being able to pick his brain. So that's going to be huge and helpful for this secondary as well.
And if you want to pick their brains, definitely get on the phone lines. That's Joshua Cole Allen. We got Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Somebody says sanitizer. Okay. Secondary may well be the strength. I agree. Is that really the great Al Keck talking live? It was, and join us here Monday nights for Al Keck. Wow, absolutely. And at Tampa Prep, let's go out to the phone lines. Johnny Dean, welcome to the Evolution. What's on your mind?
Oh, that's a lot better. Still background noise. I'll just write my comments in the article, man. There's too much noise on the phone.
You good? Hold on. Well, okay, he's gone. So I don't know what's going on with his phone tonight. He's saying he can't hear. I can hear just fine. So let's see. Yes, sir. Secondary is so young. Let's see. You never truly know, Johnny. Howard says, Al, is the quarantine getting to you? You're growing a mullet. That's a question you can ask him next time. That's Al's hairdo. I don't know. Let's see here. Watch
very
this.
Tall in person.
Huh?
He's very tall in person. I wasn't expecting how tall he was going to be when I met him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, if Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean are starting, then I'm at peace. 39% says Johnny Dean. I think he's talking about completion percentage there. Best virtual edits video. No one can call you big money, Peter. I have T-Mobile phone. I have Verizon, so I'm good to go. Sorry, you T-Mobile guys are having difficulty. Seems like it's also not helping the Sprint situation. Doug was the most beloved quarterback as far as quarterback ability. He was in the bottom of the rankings. Tampa Prep. Jameis was better than Josh and Doug. If Freeman had loved football, he could have been the top dog. Best virtual edits video. Freeman had so much talent. Oh, my God. You guys want to talk about Josh Freeman a little bit? Because we kind of been touching on the article that Al had about the top 10 best quarterbacks in Buck history. Josh Freeman has been talked about with the year he had in 2010. I think it was 25-6 at a 10-6 record with Mike Williams and also LeGarrette Blount. That was the Youngry team, the run for 10. And they did a good job with it, didn't make the playoffs. So any thoughts, Blake, on Josh Freeman? And Josh, you can go ahead and follow.
Oh, Freeman, I think, that's a little touchy subject because as around the time when Freeman was starting, I was actually pretty close with Josh Freeman around that time. And it was sad seeing all that come to play, being the young and hungry guy. And then when he had that taste of success being a young man, I think that's what got him all caught up. Along with some other players on the team that slowly got kicked off the team along right after that Schiano era and everything, because there was a lot of underlining issues on that team. I don't know how much you guys know about all that was going on behind the scenes, but it was a lot going on, and that's why they brought Schiano in here to kind of clean that up, and it rubbed veterans the wrong way, but it kind of pushed out the younger guys. But Freeman did have all the talent. He had the running ability, and he obviously had the arm. And I'll just never forget that one throw in the game. It was the Carolina Panthers game to go to overtime, which he won the game winner throwing to Dallas Clark on the left sideline. That pass he threw right over Luke Kuechly to Vincent Jackson in the middle of the end zone to take the game to overtime was just a small sample of what Josh Freeman could have done here in Tampa Bay. But it was just sad that he got caught up in the Florida life and his career was cut short.
Yeah, he had all the talent and tools to get it done, and I mean he's still floating around as a backup, all these years later. So he obviously people know that he can play the game. It's just he's not at a level where he should be a starter anymore. He did have some good seasons bouncing around, but I mean he's just another one of those guys that come through and then go out. It's unfortunate how it happened.
All right, let's go. Wasted talent, says Johnny Dean. Speaking of Josh Freeman, where is he now? I don't know where he's at now. I'll tell you.
Was he playing in the XFL or something like that last time you heard of him?
No, I don't think he was in XFL as far as I know.
He got hurt and wasn't able to play. Right?
Wasted talent, but it's not his fault. Tampa Prep, the Bucs could have had a quarterback, but that's how it goes. Let's see here.
I don't think it had much to do with his downfall as Greg Schiano did. They both was double negatives, man, and positive didn't come out of that.
Yeah. Al's list is perfect. What we wanted. It speaks volumes to how bad the quarterbacks have been in Tampa. Johnny Dean, who are you taking, Winston or Tannehill? Raheem was too interested in being their friend and going out with the team. I heard rumors about that. Here's my top 5 quarterbacks of all time.
But they won. I mean,
well, yeah, they won, but Blake, you can't have a coach go out with your quarterback and be seen with them at 2:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. It just doesn't work that way, whether you're winning or not. It can't happen. It can't continue. Here's Ben Cornett's top 5 quarterbacks of all time. Doug Williams, number 1. Jameis Winston, number 2. Brad Johnson, number 3. 4, Josh Freeman. 5, Vinny Testaverde. Honorable mention, Mike.
Number 19.
Your thoughts? Any thoughts on that at all?
It's not a
It
bad
just
list.
speaks to the volumes of how bad that list is. Just,
I don't think it's a bad list by Al or anybody else. I think it's
just a bad quarterback list. It's just
I will say this, and here Peter's beat this 1,000 times. It goes back to show you how much continuity in a team is important. Same head coaches, same quarterbacks. As to the fact that Al Keck struggled his little heart out over 30 years of sports broadcasting covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he struggled to put out 10. It shows you how important same head coaches, same quarterbacks play into the system. That this right here proves, and I believe that was Al's point.
Yep. Let's see here. A lot of players don't want those tests, though. That would be COVID-19. I think they're talking about what's going on. Christopher, Raheem was a great coach. He just was a greater person. Good question. I think Winston has the ability, but can they keep the interceptions down? Jack Thompson, who remembers the Bucs quarterback? Yeah, one of the worst. I have a better one, Winston or Mariota. Laugh out loud. Raheem lost the team. That's why Shiana was brought in to bring discipline a bit overboard there, but it is what it is. Best virtual edits video. And you could believe that Mariota is getting paid more than Winston, even at being a backup. I cannot believe it. Cannot fathom it.
Mariota had a better team and couldn't win.
Yeah, Mariota and Winston still polarizing. Tampa Prep. I didn't even notice Marcus was getting paid more than Winston.
A lot of kickers are.
Yes, that's sad. Yeah. Samoan. Johnny Dean, what's up, Christopher? Great video of the baptism. Awesome. Maybe they will have their Tannehill story. Let's see. Fire Stew.
Oh, God.
Cowgirls playing back. How fitting. Thank you, Johnny Dean. Best virtual edits video. Peter never looks at the web heads. It's nothing new. I'm looking at you right now, jerk. LeBron over.
He's going to get in this big thing about LeBron, and
that's clickbait.
Just skip it. Just skip it.
Do it.
The greatest quarterback out of Tampa was Freddie Solomon. On Earth, on the moon, or whatever, period. Dylan says, no way Jordan over LeBron. Yes, LeBron over Jordan. Come on, Dylan. Laugh out loud. Johnny Dean, sorry the phone lines are all messed up. Jordan all day. Jordan can't do what LeBron does. LeBron carried. Here we go again with LeBron and Jordan. Yeah. It's a never-ending debate. This world needs the protection of the blood of Jesus over it, okay? Carried who LeBron has always had to find players to bring in. Laugh out loud. Is it a TV show? Isn't it? Keep blazing, Peter. It's the evolution. You know what it is. Alex Fleming there on Tough Talk, which was excellent on Saturday. Catch him at 10 a.m. He'll be on here Wednesday night, I believe. Late Wednesday night, we'll get him on. The Cavs. Jordan had it easy. Gronk average.
Yeah.
Okay. Johnny Dean, easy. How do you figure going against Magic Run Lakers, the Bird Man in Boston, and the Nasty Boys in Detroit? Man, you've got to be joking. Keep smoking, Howard says. I agree, I'll give Williams more than 83, 84. He was hitting receivers in early 80s. House, Giles, Gordon Jones, and Ike Haig, and Wilder in his prime. Culverhouse gave him 100%. Gave him the I don't know what he was saying there. How do you Yes. How do you think LeBron felt when he went up against him? Was Mavs Big Four and the Spurs and Super Team Warriors? Johnny, whoa, y'all chilling. Reed L. Anthony. Yo, Peter, Bill Russell or Jordan, stop it. We're not getting into this. Dylan, bro, you're telling me LeBron would dominate the Bad Boys and take the beating from them? No way. Two different eras, bro. It's always that. Before VJax came along, you could argue that Freeman had less talent than Sean King did. Who did Josh have besides Mike Williams and Winslow?
The greatness of Sammy Strotter. Oh, I'm sorry. I speak out of turn.
Well, Sammy Strotter, you had Aurelius Ben.
The Aurelius who?
Right.
Ben never playing?
Could stay healthy.
I like that guy. He was like, he reminded me of a poor man's Anquan Bolden. When he got the ball in his hands, he couldn't be tackled. I mean, his structure was he had a nice build to him. Like you couldn't sling him to the ground. He just can't stay healthy and could never stay healthy, even going to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
A poor man's Anquan Bolden is just a poor man, right? So,
exactly.
All right. Sorry for your loss, Curtis. Absolutely. Curtis lost his grandma on Saturday morning. So, Curtis, I'm praying for you and your family, Curtis. Prayers for your lost mom. 13, miss her. Praying, Curtis. Johnny Dean, 39% pass completions. I do remember fans yelling to pull Doug one game, praising him the next. After that way, I've seen fans go after Winston and Freeman in the social media era. Doug would have ended up on the bench if it was like that. Then Dylan says, I'm not denying that LeBron's a great player, but no way he's the GOAT over Jordan. Definitely a different era. LeBron will bully Jordan. Okay. Now, if you tell me Doug was important to the franchise historically, hell yes, he was. Kyrie and Ray Allen saved LeBron and got him 2 out of 3 rings. Thank you very much, Dylan. Let the truth set you free. Lambert didn't bully Jordan. Don't kid yourself. Jordan's the GOAT. Kobe would be a better comparison. Shaking my head. LeBron is the GOAT. Here we go. That's the beauty of having so many great young players. You get to play with the cap, some without hamstringing the team. Dylan, we won't even see that, which is a shame, but I think there will be a matchup well against each other. But Jordan always stepped up in big moments. He's earned the title from his accomplishments. LeBron's a great player, though, for sure. Top 5. Yes, I agree. I think Al is a Jordan guy. I do. You got this. Peter got lots of comments to read. Laugh out loud. Just a mini GOAT debate there. I see you, Dylan. Could Brady really be the first Bucks quarterback to get a second contract if he comes back for a 3rd year? That would be hilarious. Guys, what's the possibility of that happening? Because remember, Jason Light kind of mentioned this a couple months ago on ESPN, where he felt like Arians and Brady had the perfect marriage. And then also Brady could play longer than 2 years. Is there a possibility that Tom Brady could play more than 2 years for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Always a possibility. If you still know the intangibles, can everybody stay healthy? Can he not get beat up and be able to play? It's just a lot of questions, but is it possible? Absolutely.
Exactly. Do they win a Super Bowl this year or next year? Does Arians want to keep coaching? Does Brady want to play under Byron Leftwich? There's too many variables to really, give a solid answer on that. But like Blake said, absolutely. I mean, this guy has a competitive drive, and if he hasn't accomplished everything that he himself said he wanted to accomplish, yeah, we definitely see him playing 2 more years, 1 more year. He's on the pliability of the TB12 diet, so this guy could play till he's 50, in my mind.
All right, there you go. Johnny Dean says if Peter reads all the comments from Facebook and YouTube, his head will spin. It already is. So that would actually be awesome. I have a question with the game in the background. How many times have the Cowboys won 2 games in the playoffs?
Oh my
God. Done.
Not for a while.
I'll read the rest of these comments, and then we'll talk about Ezekiel Elliott and other players testing positive for COVID-19, which has become a concern. And then I got a question for you, and not only that, but the fans out there. Moon played till 44, so Brady will, of course, want that record also. Total or recently, Dylan says, would definitely be awesome. Laugh out loud. Dylan, just funny to think the Bucs quarterback to get a second contract could be 44. Laugh out loud. I guess it's not, how old you are. It's how old you feel. And if Brady feels like he's taking that TB12 stuff, and he even provided some shade today, guys, to Max Kellerman. Kellerman said he's fallen off a cliff. He posted TB12 products and said, this is why I haven't fallen off a cliff. Good job, Tom Brady.
Remember, they said Teddy Bridgewater was a better option than Tom Brady.
Oh, there you go. Peter, don't read comments. Yes, I am.
Brady loves the troll, too. You remember that commercial, Roger That, with his rings?
Yes.
He loves to do that troll. I can't wait to see him in a uniform tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another thing I was asking. What do you fans think about that? Are you excited about it? I get it. You've seen him in the orange uniform, but that's not the official uniform of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Smart asses. It would be an NFL record, I believe. They creamed for Jerry Goldstein, too. Okay. All right. I think the last time was the Des Bryant game. Peter always reads all the comments eventually. I'm reading them right now. Nice piano, Blake Anthony. Go over and play it now. Play me a song there, piano man. Let's see. Very few quarterbacks overthrow
in California.
Away. Praying Curtis. Absolutely. Eventually, he sure does. I'm reading him right now. Isn't Joshua Allen a quarterback in Buffalo or someplace? What's he doing on the sports web? Well, that's how we roll here. But this is the guy. This is a guy to me that's much more important to the sports web than the Buffalo Bills starting quarterback. Nothing against Joshua Allen. I'll take my Joshua Cole Allen any day of the week, and I'll shake it and stir with Blake Anthony from Sports Talk 49 here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Hey.
Yep, there you go. Joshua Cole Allen thought you were playing for Buffalo.
Jacksonville.
There you go. That would be the defensive end. A lot of Bucs fans would remember they wanted him over Devin White. Not so much. Good pick, but Devin White's the real deal. Joshua Allen, a quarterback on the sports web, literally. Sandra Nagel, my agent and also my mother, watching the best sports talk show with the sports web with Bucs Report. Love that. 100% what Blake Anthony said. Gronk is the greatest tight end of all time, says Best Virtual Edits the video. Tom G is the GOAT at tight end. Maybe Gronk can take the title in a few years if he sticks it out. But at that moment, Tony has the title. Joshua Cole Allen, you got this, you got this, you got this. The secondary gelled last year when Dean asked for more game tape. Young, if there's a season after they do all the testing of players, whenever I call in, it sounds like I'm getting a fax machine. I have no idea why that's happening. That was Josh Johnson in the XFL. Got caught. Ben Cornett, not even a Bucs fan. He is. I agree. Gronk is for sure. Rick Hughes says, worst Bucs quarterbacks, Randy Hedberg, Jerry Goldstein, Jack Thompson, Rob Johnson, and Mike Borla? I don't even know who the hell that is. Yep, for sure. David says, don't forget Mike Miller made 7 and 8 3-pointers in one of those finals to help LeBron. Guys, it's killing you on the LeBron argument tonight. Pumped to see Brady perform finally tomorrow. Isaiah LeBron, or I guess LeBaron is a feigning GOAT. Yeah, me too. Gronk was in some too. Okay. And I saw that they're releasing In the Kern on Wednesday. Always good to see that. That will be cool. Blake has a different fat crib every time he's on. Blake is the man, and Blake is balling here on the Evolution. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Anthony at Sports Talk 49. Joshua Cole Allen here, one of our newest writers for Bucs Report. The big story today, not only the doubling down by Foxworth on ESPN's Get Up for the Gronk and the Bucs offense, but also Ezekiel Elliott testing positive for COVID-19. We have all this positivity going forward. The season will start on time. It could have fans and everything else. And now you get not only Elliott, but 4 players on each team for the Cowboys and the Texans. Blake, what are your thoughts?
Say that again, Peter.
The Ezekiel Elliott testing positive for COVID-19 along with 4 other Cowboys, and then also the Texans having 4 players that tested positive. It seemed like there was a lot of positivity with this season starting up, and now some people have kind of come back down to earth that the reality of the situation is that COVID-19 is the real deal.
Ironically, Ezekiel Elliott is the one to get COVID-19 as the forefront of it after the Dak Prescott's party. Funny how that happens like that. Not saying that it's related. It's just funny that it turns out like that.
Blake, he's a guy that makes quality decisions. I mean, we know about some of the quality decisions he makes off the field. So is anybody surprised? And I think, this should wake people up that athletes, even though he's healthy and he may survive it, at the end of the day, he's going to be quarantined for 14 days. If you don't do the necessary things to be safe, you're going to get it. No matter if you're old, young, whatever, you're going to get it. You got to do the necessary things, social distancing, washing your hands, and wearing a mask, especially if you want the season to start on time. Right, Joshua?
I definitely agree. And the only positive, if there is a positive out of this, is that now we've seen players be tested positive for COVID. So what's the reaction going to be like? And that what our team's going to do. I believe one of these players was rehabbing. I don't know if that's correct. Was he rehabbing in the building? I don't think we've been released who actually has it besides Zeke. But we'll see what the protocol calls for. We'll see what happens going forward. We'll see what they do with it, and how that will translate over into preseason, the regular season, if someone comes down with it. So that's one positive. Other than that, you're absolutely right. Wash your hands, wear your face masks if you're out. This doesn't have a specific age group or target audience. It goes for everybody. Just be safe, especially if you're an athlete worth millions of dollars who jeopardize your career and your future earnings for yourself and your family. You'd think that you'd have a little bit more common sense, but it is Zeke we're talking about here.
Yeah, and we kind of went through this story, and this is from Pro Football Talk, NFL Players Association. Tom Meyer, the medical director of the NFL Players Association. Players should expect to be tested about 3 times a week. This is according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Media. Isolating who test positive, also said that he was 90% certain, guys, that saliva test will be ready, available for that process when the teams get to camp in July. And I go back to these comments, and they make perfect sense. Listen up, all you doubters out there, of how real and how serious this situation is. And am I screaming at you? Yes, I am, to make a point. We can't figure out how to fit the virus into football. We have to figure out how we're going to fit football into the virus. This is a badass virus. Your thought?
Yeah, and I mean, Texas is one of the states that have, had loosened up a little bit, and they're seeing these influx of cases pop up, and now we're into the NFL world. So now, you're seeing how it translates from Gen Pop over to NFL and how it's going to affect players and affect the league going forward. But yeah, it's common sense. I mean, we've been preaching this since mid-March now. Before then, and I mean, you'd think people would get it, but some people just like to kind of, gamble and risk it. And now this is what happens.
Yeah.
And funny enough that the players that were tested positive were in Texas, Dallas, and Houston.
Yep. And then
Shocker.
I don't know what you just said. All right. Wednesday night, tune in at 9 p.m. for the Buccaneers. Undrafted free agent quarterback Reed Sennett, right? Sennett.
Also, just to keep in mind too, Texas, among Florida, was one of the states that kind of opened everything up and kind of, so keep your eyes out for Miami, Jaguars, and even Buccaneers players who might potentially test positive. They have been working out together in small groups. Miami, especially down in Dayton, Broward County, and Palm Beach area, where there's a lot of, where it's the most impacted spots in Florida. And obviously, there's a lot of nice houses and stuff like that around there as well. So you want to imagine some of these players live around there. So keep an eye out for that as well.
My question is to the fans out there: if you want to call and comment, did you lose confidence today? Did you have a reality check, or do you still think the NFL will start on time? Do you want them to start on time? Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's very nice to see you this evening, talking about some very, very interesting topics tonight on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. I'm the NFL insider correspondent. Welcome to the Evolution.
I didn't know if you were going to catch that little change in my voice there, Pete.
I got you, buddy. I got you. I know already by now. I know you, Travis Faley. You've been gone too long, my friend. You're never a stranger here on the sports web. We all know your name, so definitely welcome back. So what's up, man?
Well, I appreciate you taking the call tonight, Pete. I was actually dozing a little bit, and then I woke back up, and I'm like, hey, I got to chime into the show tonight and talk a little bit about the Zeke Elliott situation, and even more so with Dak Prescott. It's just shocking to me at this point that this guy hasn't signed a contract with the Cowboys, especially under the conditions that we're dealing with right now. Wouldn't you want to lock yourself into, $33 million a year, $100 million guaranteed? I think I would do that 5 seconds ago, especially given the current situation with COVID. And maybe, guys, you got to really think serious about we might not even play this year.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be downer, but
right. I mean, you got to be realistic
right now.
Right, you got to be realistic about the situation. You never gone through this. Do you think the NFL is prepared? Do you think they were prepared today? The good thing is, like the guys have mentioned and Al mentioned, is that it's not during the season. But what happens if it happens during the season? What kind of advantage? Let's say, knock on wood, some Buccaneers test positive. Do you close down the season? Do the Bucs just keep on running with what they have? Is that an unfair advantage? I mean, how does that work out? So you're exactly right. Going back to the Dak situation, he feels like he wants only 4 years. The Cowboys want 5. But you'll keep it in perspective. If you're getting that much money, what are we talking about here? You should be signing the contract. You could say the same thing about Major League Baseball. I get it with the players and the owners. It's all about money, but they have basically tossed a great opportunity down the toilet to really have the center of the universe at this point with them playing and having that distraction to sports fans, and they squandered it over what they always squander it over, and it's labor dispute. That's why Major League Baseball will continue to be America's pastime, because they can't get out of their own way.
No, and I said that earlier, the exact quote of how they can't get out of their own way. And, Pete, usually when you have an impasse, you either look at it as a player situation where you get mad at the player, depending on how you view things, or you get mad at the team, the owners, obviously. But now you can't really even put your finger on either side. You have to put it on all three parties, where you got the players, you got the owners, and now you actually have the commissioner all involved, and they all have to take some of this flack. Are you trying to tell me that, let's just say it's an additional 10 to 20 million per team to get this deal done with the players, and these owners can't afford it? Are you kidding me? Tom Ricketts of the Cubs has made $200 million each year that he's owned the Cubs for the last 10 years. And that's just one example. Are you telling me that Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Bulls and owner of the White Sox, can't pony up some cash? The Yankees, who have monster deals across the board. We can sit here and go through every team, and then even the Rays, who cry poverty, could still come up with an additional 10 to 15 million to get this deal done, to get the players back on the field. It's pretty disgusting, and it's pretty disturbing in the grand scheme of things, especially when we need something right now as sports fans. Hey, heck, I was watching Australian rules football for 4 hours this weekend. Hey, don't knock it, man. Those guys are beasts. There's no pads on, and they're running full steam and knocking the snot out of each other. It was rather amusing.
Yeah.
But, I digress. If I start watching, multiple hours of something's really disturbing me. But
sure.
Let's get back a little bit on football. Pete, you guys were talking about, what happens if a player or two in a facility or with a franchise gets sick. Let's do a little comparison on what happened just over the weekend. We had 3 restaurants in St. Petersburg all have to close down because they all one employee all tested, in different places, all tested positive. All 3 of those restaurants are now closed down. You get 1 or 2 or 3 guys on a team on a Saturday before a game's supposed to start, and they test positive. What are you going to do? You're going to shut down the whole facility? You're going to shut down the whole team? What's going to happen there? I mean, these are all questions that will be answered, and let's just hope, we get a vaccine, sooner than later.
No, I agree. And you mentioned something off air, and I wanted to get your guys' comments on it. But, Ezekiel Elliott was kind of wondering how the results got released, and you had something interesting because you do some law on the side, if you will. Go ahead and expound on that a little bit, please.
Well, it could be a HIPAA violation, but it's sort of interesting because I read up a little bit on it, and it seems like his agent was the one who released the names. So, once again, Zeke Elliott not having a finger on his own pulse and, figuring out who actually released the name. So, I mean, this guy just continues.
Holy shit. You walk in there.
Peter's face.
What is that?
Got to mute their.
What is that in the background, guys?
Got to mute their Zoom right there. It's not me, Pete. I'm totally down here.
Yeah, I don't know.
You got some crosstalk going on. So, hey, I'm going to let you go so you guys can figure that out. You don't need any kind of craziness going over the air at this point. But there is a thing called the HIPAA violation, and if somebody comes out and provides medical information on somebody and releases it to the public, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. You guys can look that up. I mean, it's an oath that doctors take, and obviously. But anyways, I'm not going to go into the legal mumbo jumbo of everything. But once again, it's Zeke Elliott not making the proper decision, and it would be interesting if multiple Cowboys all got it from the same location.
Yep.
And then you have the Texans and what other teams aren't coming correct with it too. There's got to be other teams out there with it that aren't divulging it into the press. Why would you?
Right.
Why would you want that? Why would you want that negative press? I wouldn't want it. I mean, they do. All press is good press, but I don't believe that to be the case in this instance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I absolutely agree, and I would be surprised if you hear anything else. But you certainly may hear some things kind of coming out. And you're exactly right. There is some type of laws against that, but we'll see what happens. But hopefully from this point on, there's some more positive news instead of negative.
Oh, for sure. And, there is a little positive spin over the last week with Mitch Trubisky is now, taking camp very, very, very important this year. He's going to be better. He's going to go after Nick Foles, and he's taking it as a challenge. I mean, this is just one of those football things around the league that popped up. So it's interesting that, Trubisky's actually now going to get his game into the get his game together because he's facing a challenge. Are you kidding me, dude? You're the number 2 pick in the draft, and you're looking like a big boss. Come on now. Oh, and by the way, flipping switches and flipping gears like we do on not only on the Bucks Report but on the Sports Web.
Yeah.
Who made Kyrie Irving have any kind of decision making or the mouthpiece of anybody other than himself in the NBA? Was anybody ever paying attention when they elected him in any kind of?
Yeah, no.
Right?
I get it.
He's a flat earther.
He's the guy that believes the earth is flat, and the reason why he doesn't want to play the season is because he's not going to play in it. He's going to be injured. So I really believe
we better look out because he could become President Trump's new Secretary of Defense pretty soon. So.
Don't start. All right. Good.
Defense is mediocre at best.
Really appreciate you. All right.
All right, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You're killing it out there, boys.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. There's good stuff. Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. Let's see here. Let's go out to the comments.
I just wanted to touch real quick on his MLB comments.
Yeah.
If that's all right.
Sure.
He called the MLB, disgusting, which I have to agree with him on that. But if you bring it back to the World Series and ever since, MLB's been nothing but disgusting and controversial. Houston Texans, Red Sox, now the Yankees, all in these sign-stealing things and buzzers and trash cans. And now here we are into this labor dispute. And as you called them, the pastime, it's not the pastime in the sense of it's America's favorite sport. It's a pastime in the sense that it's not drawing young viewers. It's not bringing in people. And right now is the key time. I don't know what they're thinking. There's no sports on right now.
Insane.
And your young demographic is so small that you have people who are watching that are mostly an older audience. You could bring all that in. NASCAR's getting it now. Who was just at NASCAR the other day? It was some athlete. Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara went to a NASCAR race and was promoting the league. NASCAR just got Alvin Kamara to promote the league while there's no other sports on. You know how many people are tuning in to NASCAR now because of that? They could be soaking up all this audience from youth to old to all these media ratings. What are they doing?
Yeah, well,
over $10-15 million.
Right.
I'm just disgusted is the exact word that he used. Sorry.
I don't necessarily think this is all on the players. In fact, I think it's more the owner's fault. But the problem is, you know this all too well, Blake, that perception is a double-edged sword. And because there are so many unemployed people right now, and you have players coming out and saying, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I don't want a shorter season, I don't want less pay, it looks like the players are the bad guys. But really, it's the owners because they've kind of gone back on what they agreed to, and they're trying to get as much money or as much money from the players for themselves. And it's a disappointing situation. It really is.
I think Al Keck said it best. MLB just can't find. They always find a way to get in their own way. And yes, and the owners always seem to be the ones that slide through, and people don't think about them all the time because they're not the face of anything. It's usually the players and the agents and things like that. The owners have a lot to do with why things are held up because they're looking at the bottom line, they're looking at their profit margins and things like that. But as Josh just said, I said, if you guys are worried about that, then you should be playing right now because you're literally leaving money on the table. That's what you're doing. Money is sitting on the table, and you said, nah. We'll say like Kyle Shanahan. Nah, you want to win? Nah, I'll pass. We'll do. That's what he's doing.
Right,
exactly.
Read this comment. Another great night on the Sports Web, Peter. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights are the best. Looking forward to Reed Sinnett on Wednesday. Even when there isn't much sports to talk about, you guys always bring it. Never beat a horse dead either. Awesome job, Peter. Thanks very much. Thank
And
you.
if you think about it too, the players signed a contract and they were, upheld to agree to that contract and follow the terms of it. The owners signed the contract as well. It's not just the players signing these contracts. And MLB, like all these other sports, they have guaranteed contracts. They could have implemented a salary cap years ago. Where in the NFL, if the situation was different, I completely support the players because they can be cut anytime, and owed minimal guaranteed money, especially because most of these are guaranteed for injury, skill. They can find some offseason or some fine or something like that to avoid some of this stuff like they did with Fournette. But the MLB, they have no reason to. Sorry, I'm done with the MLB now.
No, I agree. I'm muting Blake. I think Blake got an urgent call from the bat phone there. Never heard of him. Roberto says, lots of love. Thank you very much, Roberto AG. The Webheads, absolutely. Alex Fleming, is Jake Fromm going to get cut? State Farm agent Johnny Dean, Reed Sinet live on the Sports Web Wednesday night. Keith Larson won. Blake's mic is impressive, especially when he's talking to other people in the background. Travis Fraley busted. Legendary. Jeff Walters, done with the NFL, and I'm following Bucks Report. Okay, well, thanks a lot for tuning in and saying that. I don't know why, but hopefully we can convince you to come back to Bucks Report. I don't really think there was anything controversial. The only thing I said is take the proper precautions. Now you can go ahead and get off and unfollow me. Thank you. Joshua, do you think we'll start on time? Joshua, that's a question for you.
I believe we'll start on time. Barring some widespread COVID cases, I believe the NFL has every intent on playing the Week 1 games with fans, hopefully in the stands, and then addressing and assessing the situation after that first week, where they would put 2 through 4, 2 through 5, and push it to the end of the season. Play the Super Bowl, and at the end of February, I believe that's an option on the table. I believe the way they did it, those first 4 weeks, those first 3 weeks, they made it so that if they did need to push the schedule back out, it was something that they could do. Reason why you have such a late bye week between Carolina and the Bucks this year, week 13. Usually there's no week 13 bye week. Bye weeks are usually done by week 12. Carolina and the Buccaneers are the only two teams on a bye week that week 13. And they also coincidentally play, I believe, in week 2. So if something doesn't go, they have that week to kind of take off. I believe everyone that has that bye week off is playing each other. They can add it on to the back of the schedule. But week 1, I believe that's the goal is to play football with fans in the stands.
All right, good stuff. Bye, Felicia, says Johnny Dean. Robert A.G. Thought Travis was the dude at first. It is not the dude. That sounds like the dude. It is not the dude. It's Travis Fraley. Blake, what role will Golston play this year? We'll get back to Blake in a moment. Roberto says, where is the dude? Travis Fraley, sports photographer and Lightning Insider, and, of course, around the NFL insider here on the Sports Web. Dude. Faley with the rant. I love it. Agree. Dylan Casey sounded a lot like the dude at first. It was not. He tried to fool me. Travis is bringing it tonight.
He did good. I was fooled too.
I was not. Travis Fraley bringing it. Of course, I could see the number. Haha, Travis in a pocket or a poker game. Okay. Cross lines is so 1980. It is. Zeke always partying. Again, makes great decisions. His dudeness. The Duderino. Dude. Are you joining at the dude? His royal dudeness. The dude. Okay, guys. Kyrie Irving is I've been calling Major League Baseball disgusting for years. There's a bearded guy there. Who is in the fishbowl? I have no idea what that was all about. Blake ringing. It is. They may never recover from this. Absolutely great work, guys. Alone with the Webheads. Absolutely. Tampa Prep is crying for some reason or laughing. I think he's laughing. Dylan, 100% on the owners. In my opinion, they have made no effort to get baseball back. All they're concerned about is fattening their wallet. Good stuff. The only thing offensive is Peter's shirt. Easy now. Report creamsicle shirt. And we'll get you some shirts out there if you're a Bucks Report fan, a webhead. We'll get you some shirt orders. We'll figure that situation out. Laugh Out Loud says best virtual edits video. Dylan says they don't care about the future of the sport. They don't. Jeff must be a hater. He must. Don't call me dude. Who is the dude? The dude is coming, and he really is the dude. And Dylan says the dude is anonymous. Dude, it says Johnny Dean. And how about David Spade? And we need Khalil Davis to have an impact. We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's go ahead and get out to the dude who has been mentioned all times tonight. Dude, you're a popular character here on the Sports Web. What's on your mind?
Gentlemen, how's it going tonight?
Well, good.
Good dudeness.
So, what's going on the Sports Web? People said dude and dude and dude. All right. Hey, we're here real quick. I heard you read a comment. Somebody's saying they're done with the NFL and they're going to unfollow Bucks Report. Well, sir, I just want to point out this is not an airport. There is no need to announce your departure. The dude hears you guys talking tonight a little bit. Hey, Al Keck, great job, man. Hey, Al Keck's getting that hair growing a little bit like the dudes. Did you guys notice that? That was pretty great. Hey, I just want to say, hey, the virus, man. Peter Blake and a lot of people and people on the TV yelling at you all day about it. We get it. It's hard to keep taking it day in and day out. But people were telling everybody there'd be a little second wave. Not sure why they had to bring surfing into this, but that there'd be a second wave, and that's what's happening. What I want to point out, though, is the college athletes that are testing positive, that's concerning. Most college athletes don't have big money, so they're pretty much sticking in and around the campus and training facility dorms. But these pro players, I just want to say, Ezekiel, bro, Ewok, whatever you go by today, brother.
Ewok.
We've seen you partying, all right? We've seen you, and you're sick. Use this moment to help bring awareness to take it seriously. All right, that's it. The dude doesn't want to get serious now. Joshua Allen, Reed Sinnett, the quarterback. Tell me a little bit about Reed Sinnett from what you know.
He's an undrafted quarterback from the University of San Diego. He was only a one-year starter. He was a redshirt freshman, and then he backed up the next 3 years of his career. He came on. He brought them to a conference championship. He kind of lit up the league. His efficiency rating was the best in the nation. So he's got that going for him. I wrote an article about him talking about how I see him more than just a camp arm. I think this guy has real potential to deplace Ryan Griffin as the number 3 quarterback. If not, make the practice squad. And if not, I've been thinking about this the other day. If they do decide to go with 3 quarterbacks on the roster, and Bruce Arians was talking about quarantining one of them, I can almost see them having 4 quarterbacks on the roster just to play it safe, and quarantining someone like Griffin, just to have him there, quarantine, ready to go. He knows the system. He's NFL ready. And then kind of bringing Reed Settle on as that 3rd quarterback, because we know Blaine Garrett's injury history, and we also know Tom Brady's getting up there in age. So if they had to go through 3, I don't know who their emergency quarterback is, as far as it's a wide receiver or something like that. I know Tyler Johnson has played quarterback. But getting back to Reed Sinnett, I think that he's got definitely a tremendous potential, if not on this team on the active roster, sneaking onto the practice squad.
I totally appreciate that. What I will say, and I'll point out, you mentioned Ryan Griffin and the whole quarantine thing, like Arians mentioned. So what I'll ask is, haven't the Buccaneers really been quarantining Ryan Griffin for the last 5-6 years, Peter? I mean,
yes, a lot of the greatness of Griffin.
Well, I believe he has in regular season an official kneel down and I believe a false start.
Well, I think he has 2
But,
passes through last year, didn't he? 2 for 4 or something.
Well, 2 for what? I mean, seriously, if you start with 2 for, it better be like, I don't know, 2 for $5 beers, not 2 for 4 passing. Come on. Listen, guys, solid show so far tonight. Not sure everybody out there in the interweb land that Peter can go 4 hours tonight. But we do appreciate everybody tuning in. The dude wants everybody to think, use your head, quit yelling, quit screaming, start listening to each other, and man, just be cool to each other, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry I yelled. I didn't mean to yell at you guys.
Well, no, you're allowed to yell. You're that's bringing your passion out. Oh, that hurts. See, the dude can't do that, man.
Yeah, well,
the dude just has to have a beverage and watch Peter Blake yell at the TV box. Hey, great show tonight. I'm gonna jump off here because Joshua, I know we got that big thing with Reed coming up. I think we know him now. We can call him Reed. Hey, Reed.
Hey, Reed.
Reed, did you steal my rug, Reed? But what else? Don't you got something else coming up in the next day or so? Something, Joshua? Come on, man. Spill the beans.
I'm working on a few different things. I don't want to put it out there now just because I'm trying to make sure that it all comes together.
He's teasing us. That's what he's doing.
Exactly. I can't give everything out, right now. I just got to tune in. Make sure you're watching, because if you're watching, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, so we know we got Reed Senate, seen it, sign it on Wednesday, and like Joshua said, go look at the go to bucksreport.com and Google his name, ReidSinnett. He's got a nice highlight video of his college career, but I know Joshua's got.
I will give it away. So tomorrow we'll be on a conference call with offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich. Bucks Report will be there. So we'll get some inside information from him. We'll have an article up about it shortly after the conference call. I'll be kind of live tweeting some of his answers as well. So if you want to follow me on Twitter at Joshua_C_Allen. Bucks Report, I'm sure we'll be retweeting those as well. So if you can't find me, go to the Bucks Report. And hopefully, we'll be able to get on there, ask him some questions. But if not, look out for that content as well. There, I gave it away, dude.
Far out, man. Far out. Like, that's too legit to quit. You know what I mean? So, real quick, before I go, I got to get back. I got to practice my bowling. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I want to thank Peter for always being there to come through with the sports web. And the rest of the guys at Bucks Report, man, you guys are kicking ass. Everybody, keep commenting, keep liking, keep sharing. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Bucks Report on Twitter, and you never know, you might get a phone call from the dude. Well, I mean, it'll be a collect call from jail, but it's a phone call from the dude.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks a lot for joining us. There you go. We'll go ahead and get Mr. Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. Welcome back, buddy. What was going on the bat phone there?
Oh man, I couldn't skip that call. It was unannounced. I didn't see that one coming.
Oh, is it good? Are you good? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with our newest writer here on Bucks Report, Joshua Cole Allen, of course, Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. Let's go back out to this question here. Tampa Prep says Khalil Davis. What are your thoughts on Khalil Davis here, Blake?
Yeah, I saw somebody said, what's Golston's role? As far as right now, it's Golston's job to lose. As far as the depth chart, the last time I checked, where they had Khalil Davis marked as a nose tackle, he's not a nose tackle. Not in a 3-4 system. He's not built like the holder anchor. He's not built like that. He played the 5, the 7, the 3.
Hold that thought. We got phone calls here. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, I got to use my second call because I was just thinking about something, so I'm using my second call. I wanted to bring this up earlier.
All right, Travis Bailey.
I find it very convenient, and I like to use this way. I find it very convenient convenient Roger Goodell to come out and say, yeah, he hopes that a team, 4 teams, would look into signing Colin Kaepernick. How convenient to say this now after this tragedy brings Colin Kaepernick back to light, where he had to go and sue the NFL being blackballed. How convenient for you, Roger Goodell. How about Pete Carroll? Oh, yeah, I regret not signing him. Really? How convenient, Carroll, for you to say that now when it suits the narrative. Give me a God-blessed break. Are you kidding? The team could have signed him when he was available. The Bears signed Mike Glennon for a multi-million-dollar contract.
$15 million.
Yep, tell him.
Rub backup quarterbacks that we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. And yes, was 3-6 in his last season. But when you put those combined numbers together of the years that when Kaepernick was striving and playing good ball, you compare those with the other second quarterbacks in the league, and you can't compare one iota. Was the Sox things bullshit? Absolutely. Sorry about the language.
It's all right.
Was the Sox a horrible look? Absolutely. But it didn't let him to being blackballed out of the league.
Good stuff. No, I definitely agree with you. I think there's definitely a possibility where he could be signed by a team. But
why? But why, Pete? The guy's been out of the league for 3 years. Is it just a save face type of look at this point? I mean, give me a break.
It's a save face. The NFL is a PR league. They're a PR machine. Is he a bad quarterback? I don't know what he is. He hasn't been in the league for 3 years. Was he a bad quarterback when he was blackballed? 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He played for a bad San Francisco team. But you would have to say that he was much better. And as I've always said, if he can play in the league, sign him. I don't care. The problem is the NFL owners care about the distraction and they care about the money aspect. That's why
it's too late. And
Right.
it's too late at this point, Pete.
Right.
You know, his skills has obviously diminished. And, you know, you also have Cam Newton out there that should have a job by this point. But still, you sign Kaepernick, what is that going to do? That's all distraction at this point. If you would have signed him a couple of years ago, then this whole situation would have been, you know, negated at that point, where it wouldn't just be for the look now. But it's late. You can't put him on a team. Unfortunately, I don't want him on my team because it's going to be a huge distraction.
Yeah, no, and that's the point. And who is going to sign him? Would the Bucks be interested in signing him? Would the Seahawks be interested? Would there be another team out there that would be interested in signing him? If you sign him, do you understand that some of your fan base won't necessarily like it? Can you take it at this point? There's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it comes down to this, Travis, right? If he can play in the league and you feel like he is going to be the best backup on your team, there should be no point of discussion. That's what it should come down to. It shouldn't come down to the political rhetoric. It shouldn't come down to distractions or whatever else. It should come down to, can he play on this team? If he can, fine, sign him. I have no problem with it. And I've changed my stance on it because I wasn't necessarily the biggest Colin Kaepernick fan, and I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the protesting. But as my dad taught me before he passed away, they have a right to do it. Give them the right to do it. If it's going to hurt your feelings, then obviously you don't understand the concept of it. And then at the end of the day, I have respect for Kaepernick because he did give his resources to this whole problem. So he's been serious about it. So any way it goes, I feel like the NFL is trying to save face. I think you're exactly right. And I think you're going to have more of this. And I think at the end of the day, people want that distraction of sports, but there are people out there that have something to say, so they're going to say it. So,
but we also don't want to
right, of course. I mean, that's right. You don't want it, and it's all around you, and that's the reason why you have the tool of sports in the first place. So,
NFL screwed Colin Kaepernick last year at his tryout, and now they're like, "Oh, you should be on it late." Well, yeah, if you didn't screw him over, you know, agree to something, and then change the agreement right before it, so had to go up to a high school, you know, 20 minutes up the road, you know. It's all safe-based publicity.
The whole thing was a mess. I agree, Gus. It's just all a mess. And had you addressed the issue instead of negatively and effective and positively, you wouldn't be doing this today, trying to backtrack and apologize. Get behind your guys. At least pretend you care about their views. You could have at least done that, pretended to care, and you wouldn't have had to make an apology. Now all the coaches got to come out and say these things. Everybody's got to make it a point that they're on board with. If you could just support it from the beginning, we wouldn't be in this situation now.
But I'm sorry, guys. It's kind of consistent, and I know, Joshua, you got to get out of here. Travis, you're on the phone here, so stay on here. The point is, has the NFL ever done anything that's not about money? With the concussion situation, for years, they hid about players getting concussions and didn't care until what? They were sued. The Ray Rice situation, a complete debacle. How do you have the victim up there, the wife, up with Ray Rice? What do you think is going to happen? Of course, nothing is going to happen. And they suspended him for 2 games until TMZ and all the PR backlash came out. Exactly. What happened with Greg Hardy? They care about one thing and one thing only, and that's the money aspect, and that's the problem. The fans see through it. The players are seeing through it, and now the NFL has to basically come to grips with it, and basically the cows have come home, and they got to do something about it.
And just imagine if they got behind Colin Kaepernick before the Sox, got behind him and started, to start Robert Kraft, social reform. He's one of the biggest, one of the most influential owners, and he hangs out with Meek Mill and, is huge for the Rikers Island prison reform with Jay-Z and all these other guys. If the NFL took a stance like that when this first started, they would have been ahead of the curve. So they would have just got praised and, everyone should be following the NFL's league and this and that. Instead, they turn him into this martyr or this villain, because of what he's doing. And now they have to backtrack their way out of it and say, okay, we're going to commit this much money, $250 million or whatever it is. Michael Jordan is one person given $100 million, and you're going to be like, oh, we got $250. That's good. That's pocket change to them. That's what they put in the dryer.
Go ahead, Trev.
Hold on. We all know why Jordan's doing that, right? And I'm the biggest Bulls fan. I grew up in Chicago. You know why Jordan's doing that now, right? To make up for lost time, because now Jordan's in the legacy type stage.
Right.
Of, okay, I want people to respect me not only for my playing ability as the GOAT, but now I'm going to start putting money into the community and talking about these things that I probably should have done 10, 15 years ago. But as an owner in the NBA, you also have to watch your back and cover your tracks to keep cashing checks and not to affect the brand.
Absolutely.
And so, that's a Jordan thing. But, Pete, I did, between calls, I looked up a little bit more on the Zeke Elliott thing, and he said that his agent was just confirming the fact. He didn't break the story. He didn't release it, but he had reporters blowing up his phone all day. So he had to get in front of it and had to admit that Zeke was one of the guys that tested positive for corona. So, and Zeke is pissed off about the potential HIPAA violation of releasing that kind of medical information out to the public.
Right.
Interesting stuff, guys.
It is. It is very interesting stuff. Thanks a lot, Travis Feely, for using your second call. Definitely don't be a stranger here on the Evolution, all right?
Thanks, guys.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Like I said, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but we got to get you out of here, Joshua Cole Allen. So go ahead. You'll be back on Wednesday night, of course. Hopefully you'll be at that Zoom meeting tomorrow interviewing Byron Leftwich. We'll get those sound bites. Go ahead and promote yourself. Where can they find you? And, of course, what are you working on next?
Exactly. So my Twitter is at Joshua_C_Allen. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. I'll be kind of live tweeting some of Byron Leftwich's responses from his Zoom press conference Wednesday. Make sure you get in here at 9 o'clock because we're going to have quarterback Reed Sinnett on live on the Sports Web. We're going to be doing some rapid fire questions, kind of learn more about him as a person and what more about him through this trying time in the last month, because we talked about him about a month ago. Also answering some of your fan questions. So go on to the Bucks Twitter, go on to the Facebook page, look for the post, and ask your questions. We'll pick a couple of those and we'll have them answer those as well. I'll be back on Wednesday with that. I'll be back Thursday with Charles Richardson. I'm the co-host of Thursday Night Live, so make sure you tune into that 8 to 9. A lot of things will be on a podcast on Thursday as well from 9 to 10. So tune into that. I'll be back here on Friday working on articles. Got a roster reset. Got a training camp battle. Got a lot of things going on. I'm very busy, but it's great. I love it. and just make sure you're back here every night tuning in, especially on Wednesday.
All right, good stuff, Joshua Cole Allen. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution. All right.
Absolutely, thanks, man.
All right, so can you stick around here, Blake?
Yeah, I'm with you, Pete.
All right, we got Blake and Blake Sports here, a reunion, if you will. We've done this in a long time. Let's go back out to the webheads here, read some comments from you guys. Let's see. The dude is back. Peter's dude. I'm still waiting on the Athlon NFL Football 2020 mag. The dude don't miss. Funniest guy, dude, you can never see. Mike says, hey, dude, how about a creamsicle, Stewart's orange and rum? Chatta, okay. Allen is the GOAT. Griffin is the Bucks bubble boy. Franklin played quarterback last season.
About William Golston?
No, not Golston. Griffin. Griffin. The dude don't read comments. Come on, Joshua. The dude sounds like a grappler. The dude sounds, what do you say, corny?
I think. I don't know. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
The dude is too busy with his beverage to read comments. Or is he the one commenting as Bucks report, says Dylan? The dude is a mystery. The dude never needs to reveal himself. He is not safe. Peter should make him reveal himself. Nope, not my job, guys. The dude unconquered. Blake must live in the West Coast. Bucks report saying nothing. No Kaepernick ever. Davis has some bulk on him too himself. Tampa Prep because the NFL is Tampa Prep. We all know why they're saying this now. The NFL is weird. Okay. I'm not going to say that. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries.
Correct.
Colin has a ring. Does he have a ring? I don't think he has a ring. Breaking news, the Pats signed Cap and Cam Newton. No confirmation of that, so I think that's a joke. Peter knows the dude. He just doesn't want us to. Let's see here. Big time controversy here on the sports web. PR or PR both. Let's see. RIP AH81 just finished his Netflix today. Truly a troubled soul. Who was that? AH81.
Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, yes. Peter is hiding the dude. Who is AH? That would be Aaron Hernandez. Watch that. That is very sad and very troubling.
I think they took the focus a little bit off. They tried to say that he was homosexual more than the mental issues from all that. I think it kind of went all over the place besides just the whole investigation thing.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. Peter exposed the dude. Peter. Oh yeah, that's sad. I watched it. So sad. David says, Peter, people forget because of everything that's been going on. We all watch Colin Kaepernick quarterback skills diminish right in front of our eyes. That's why he was benched for who is the backup now. We all know when quarterback schools go, they go quick look at Peyton Manning. I've said, I don't know. David Moser disagree. He was horrible in San Francisco squad with Coe, Staley, and Carlos Hyde. His QBR was 49.5, yet he had a 4-to-1 touchdown ratio. Plus, he's probably the 35th best quarterback available right now. He deserves a chance. And that's all I've said. I'm not going to sit here and try to predict somebody being out of the league for 3 or 4 years, what his impact is going to be. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm not going to sit here and try to predict somebody being out of the league for 3 or 4 years. Well, you got to turn down your phone if you're going to call the sports web.
I think they realize.
I'm calling this guy back because this is the same guy that always calls. So let's see who this is.
So it's Corey.
I bet it is. It may be.
He's been around lately. Corey.
Answer the phone. Come on, answer the phone now. We'll see who your answer machine is.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Oh, no voicemail. Look at that.
Oh, voicemail. How about that? He called in. He wanted to listen to himself, and then he called up. Open phone line. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49, which can be heard and seen here on Bucks Report. What days or what day?
That's hard to days now, but when the season comes, it'll be every Monday and Friday as it was last year.
Okay. All right. I want to read this comment from the live section here. Michael Scott. Hey, Peter, so will there be season or will there not be season, especially with this coronavirus stuff? Don't know. I have no idea at this point, not ready to predict it. If I was a betting man, I hope that the spike. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm just calling so that way you can be in between me and Blake Anthony and have an official Oreo.
Oh, yeah. This will be fantasy and flavors. Why did you have to go there? That's okay. I like Oreos, but, not in that way. Alex Fleming, what's on your mind?
I'm just listening. I'm in the background. I just want to say thank you because you are amongst many people that inspired me. But, we're talking about Colin Kaepernick and these nasty names and all these things being done to him. And, I don't feel sorry for him because he's living large. He's got Nike on his back.
Sure.
But if I'm Colin Kaepernick, I don't want to come back to bigots and ignorant fans and people always spitting at me and owners that didn't want me and colluded against me to even play. Hell, I still got the check that you guys gave me for an undisclosed amount. Nike is still paying my bills. And even if I do come back, who's to say you're not going to pay somebody off just to try to hurt me? I mean, does America really deserve Colin Kaepernick? He was right 4 years ago. And now, all of a sudden, everybody's falling into line because that's the flavor of the month. If I'm Colin, I don't think I want to come back.
I mean, and it's going to be his decision and his decision alone. And we don't know if, for him not being signed, do I think it's a PR thing? Yes. Do I think there's also a situation where he wanted to be paid like a starter? Absolutely. It's certainly possible. But I also say if he wants to play and there's a team out there that wants to give him the opportunity, give him the opportunity. If not, I don't disagree with them. I mean, because again, we've talked about the NFL and their transgressions in the past. And I don't agree with everything that Roger Goodell has done, but I will agree that I think he's done a stand-up job with handling the COVID-19 in the draft. I think he's done a good job with that. He's had to, and I think he's handled it better than any other league out there. I'll give him credit for that. And, I do think that he did apologize, and it was the right thing to do. Now, what do you
consider that an apology, Pete? I mean, he didn't even say his name.
Right.
Is that for legal purposes, or you didn't want to acknowledge?
I don't know. I think it's legal. I honestly think it's a combination of both. And I think that's how they play it. And is it always the right thing of way they play? No, it's not. But that's the situation. So we'll see going forward what happens. I'm just hoping we're talking about a season going forward. I don't know what you thought about Ezekiel Elliott today. COVID-19 testing positive for it. The good thing.
Zeke is a party animal, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It took him this long.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. And then, we watched the video with him and Dak hanging out at the birthday party, and people say, oh, it's not really a big deal. Well, it kind of is if you're not social distancing. But if you're out there in a bar and, with the spikes going on, not only in Texas, but also in Florida, it's a big deal. And if you're not doing the right things and taking the right precautions, then that's what's going to happen. And I'm hoping that this will be an example, not only for NFL athletes out there, but for people in general, that yes, he most likely will get over it. Hopefully he does in the 14 days that he's quarantined. Hopefully there's no long-term effects of it, but it is a very serious thing that you have to take not for granted. You have to take it seriously. And if you don't, then there's a possibility where you could test positive for it. So,
well, the funny thing about Zeke is he's young, he's healthy. I'd like to think he's in his prime. I'm pretty sure Zeke is going to be okay. What about the people he's been in contact with? They should be more worried than Zeke because Zeke is at the best of his form. My second thing is to all the people who were laughing and saying ha-ha to Zeke in the NFC East, well, karma bit you guys pretty damn quick because Brandon Brooks went down with the ACL tear, hours later?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I know a lot of people like to call him an Ewok. It's too funny, but I'm sorry. I see the picture and it's pretty funny to me.
Look like
Anything else, buddy?
I just want to give a shout out to Blake Anthony, man. You putting in numbers, putting in work Sunday. Love the show. Hopefully someday I can get on you guys' level. you guys inspire me, and I thank you for having me.
Well, let me tell you something. First and foremost, before you go, you're on the level because you're a part of Bucks Report family. So stop saying that you're not on the level because you're definitely on the level with us. Alex Fleming, you do a damn good job here. So stop beating yourself.
Awesome job.
Because there's enough people in this world that have the negativity and beat yourself up. So definitely believe in your value because you bring it here to Bucks Report, as well as Blake Anthony and everybody we've talked to tonight and everybody that comes on these shows. Because if you didn't bring any value, I wouldn't have you on the sports web, and you certainly wouldn't be a part of Bucks Report. So stop saying that. You're not a rookie. You've done this before. We've done plenty of them. And also, you still owe me wings. I'm just saying.
You never did give me the flavor of those wings, though. So.
We go garlic parmesan. We go garlic parmesan or barbecue. I'm not that picky about it. As long as there's not veggies on it, I'm good to go.
Hell no.
Hell no. No veggies. No veggies. You're my man, Alex. Keep on doing what you're doing, all right? Keep on grinding, flamethrower.
Wash your hands, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good night.
Wash your hands, Zeke. I mean, yeah, wash your hands, guys.
Oh, geez. Let's go back out to the webheads.
I mean, let me just back you up on that. Alex Fleming does a lot of great work, and that man is very hardworking with his life, and then getting involved with us and doing all this stuff. It's just amazing that the work he does and the stuff they puts in and the homework, and he managed to even get up to Indianapolis and give us the great insight on draft prospects, what a lot of us couldn't do with our scheduling, and situations going on. So I want to get that out there that he shouldn't discredit himself at all. As far as like being on a level, we're nobody, Pete. We're just here to entertain people, talk about and do the thing that we love to do, cover sports, cover the Buccaneers, and we're just no better than anybody else.
Well, I'm Peter Blake, and he's Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. I'm a part of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Join the 65,000 following we have here on Facebook, of course, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and, of course, on Twitter. I know what you're saying, Blake, and we try to definitely give these guys the webheads who are crazy sometimes, but I love you guys, especially a guy like Curtis, man, losing somebody in the family and still tuning in a couple days later, man, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. So, all right, let's go back out to the webheads. When is Alex's next show? Saturday, what time?
10 a.m., ain't it?
10 a.m. It is Flamethrower Alex Fleming.
No, he's saying Fleming, yeah.
Yeah. Jordan says, back to football. Are we going to let Rojo roll? Everyone is hating on him after a year of splitting snaps. I think you got to. I think you're going to let him roll. I think you're going to see what you have with him. Keyshawn Vaughn is going to push him for the job. I don't see the Bucs signing a McCoy or Freeman unless they take less money. I really think you draft Vaughn in the third round. You're happy with your running back situation. And I happen to feel like Rojo, I know what you were saying about, seeing him on Twitter, catching and stuff like that. If that's getting him ready, and it certainly seems like he's bulked up more, I just feel like you got to give him more volume at this point. And if you give him that volume, he can't let you down.
Nope, you're absolutely right. You said it several times that he's never been given the platform to go, hey, bud, it give you the nod that you're the starter. And give or take, it's been the game situations too, but falling behind in games where the runs got abandoned for the past 2 seasons. We still haven't been able to run. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they still ain't been able to run the ball as much as they wanted to. But he's out there working. He's out there exercising. That's the part. That's what I don't want to say it's like what he's doing is bad. I don't think what he's doing is not going to really be what he's going to be doing in the game situation as far as route running. But he can only do what he can. It just looks like a bunch of high schoolers and kids, out there playing with him and trying to get him some work when he can.
All right, let's go back out. Peter, I keep checking the mail, bro. Still nothing. I kind of feel the guy from Semi-Pro where he's talking to Jockey Moon and he's trying to say, there's a check coming in the mail. When's it coming? It's coming in the mail. I'm not going to send you some fake shirt or something. That shirt is coming, I promise you. Blake Anthony kills it, time in and time out. Another adult beverage, says David. Thanks a lot, David. The show is better than peppers and onions and omelets. Agree with that. Peter Blake rocking the Gordon's Fisherman beard. Never thought about that, but okay, Mike. Thank you very much.
Not as long as the other one, but it's getting there.
It's it's not going to be that long. And I don't know how long I'm going to have it. Everybody likes it. I like it. But when it gets hot and itchy, it may be time to shave it. Just saying. Who knows? Just keep on watching. Over under JPP having 14 sacks. Go.
Over under?
Yeah.
I could care. Listen, I think I said this about Mike Evans. per individual numbers don't mean anything if you're not winning games.
I didn't ask you to be a diplomat on the show. I asked you under.
Under.
Okay. Why is it under?
Well, it's not because of bad play. He's going to get disruptions and stuff like that. But just to say 14 sacks, and if he doesn't get it, it's a failure. No, but I just think everybody else is going to contribute. Vita Vea missed a lot of sacks last season, and I think there's a lot of eyes are going to be on Shaq Barrett this season. So it's going to be an opportunity for some other guys to step up. Going to look forward to Khalil Davis stepping in. And speaking of Khalil Davis, I know we got sidetracked. We were talking about William Golston and Khalil Davis. I made a statement earlier that Khalil Davis will get the nod over William Golston. Why is that? Because Khalil Davis offers great run support and offers actually a pass rush. And he's much faster than Golston on the edge and a little bit more athletic. I think if you watch the game, a good game, I think it was Wisconsin versus Nebraska, where you get to see a lot of Nebraska versus Minnesota. So you got to see Antoine Winfield, you got to see Tyler Johnson, you got to see Khalil Davis. A lot of those guys were all on the field at one time. So if you're watching that tape, if you guys get bored, you'll see a lot of the draft picks of Tampa Bay Buccaneers on one screen. They game planned against Khalil Davis, and I kept every time they would run the ball away from Khalil Davis in that game. Granted, he was the best player on the defensive line at that time for the Nebraska team, but it says a lot about his play, and he could run plays down when he had to, and he never really quits on plays. So I think he offers more on that 5 technique spot than William Golston, in my opinion.
All right, good stuff. I like the breakdown. That's what you get here with Blake Anthony at Sports Talk 49, JPP with 14.
Uh-oh, freezing. Peter, you freeze?
Under says Alex Fleming, but it's been 3 hours, and Johnny Dean says answer the damn. That's what you get here on the Sports Web. So I'm going to wrap this up. It's about midnight here. Want to get you out of here. Go ahead and promote yourself where they can follow you and look at Sports Talk 49 because you do a damn good job also.
Everything's right here on Bucks Report. Facebook. If it's on Facebook, it's on Bucks Report on Sports Talk 49 on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. Very active now, officially on Twitter. Blake Anthony 49 on Twitter. And I'm always on there interacting with people, talking back and forth. Yeah, I don't really have set days right now with this whole offseason going on. Once training camp, if we're allowed there at training camp, we'll have more set days we can be together again, Peter. And of course, with the season, I'll be on every Monday and Friday for the season doing pregame and postgame stuff.
All right, sounds good, Mr. Blake Anthony. Thanks a lot for joining me here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, all right? All right, there you go, Mr. Blake Anthony of Sports Talk 49. We'll wrap it up here. We'll read this final question. Frozen Peter had to have at least once. We did. Definitely not a failure if he had less. He's a game wrecker, even if it doesn't show on the stat sheet. But someone is going to explode if your double check got Vita, Sue, JPP, and that goes for all 4. I think there's a possibility that JPP could have another big year, maybe over 14 sacks. Of course, we had once red light, green lights, and great show, guys. Makes Monday a lot better. What do you think the Bucks would do if Shaq places the whole season, only had 6 sacks? Do you think they will sign him to a big contract still? I definitely think there would be some reservations, but you would have to look at the entire body of work. We'll see what happens. Of course, a lot of people looking forward to seeing what this defense can do, not only the offense. So thanks to the Tampa Bay sports broadcasting legend, Mr. Al Keck, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, WTSP Channel 10, WFTS Channel 28, of course, one of our newest writers here on Bucks Report, Joshua Cole Allen, not the quarterback from the Buffalo Bills. Our writer here does a fantastic job. And of course, Blake Anthony, and to the webheads, you make this possible. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Definitely tune in next time, Wednesday night, same channel on Bucks Report at 9 o'clock. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night. now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
Tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more. At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
Realizing my potential has been what my career has been all about. Things that I've dreamed about have actually come true.
And the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Things have happened in my life as I kind of hoped they would happen. It's been, just a complete evolution. You know, how I just kept kind of fighting and clawing to continue to power forward. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you keep trying to make progress. So when I look at over 20 years, I look how far I've come. But there's not one step that I took where I realized, look how far I've come. But those series of steps that I put together, I go, wow, that's quite a journey.